but then I will switch to my notebook. The quality is worse there, so I'll keep this
gotcha.
on as long as I can.
Right, so folks, we're live, as you can tell. I am in my first chat with is it Wojtek? Well, I can't.
You can say Wojtek.
Wojtek. Is that okay?
Yes.
Wojtek.
Yes.
What happened was, before I did a hangout, a few hours ago, I did a hangout with Crystal, and after about an hour, the computer shut down. And I went, oh no, I forgot to put the fan on, because the computer's quite old, so it's from 2009, so I have to have this laptop cooler underneath.
Okay.
It just, the whole thing just closed down because it just got too hot, and now the cooler is up.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay,
damn.
so you can. How hot is it in your room?
That makes not much difference, but it's just that it's when you're sharing screen and it's a computer from 2009.
Yeah, it's very CPU intensive, but you can put your notebook, like put something under it, like to I don't know, something from your desk.
Yeah.
So there is air below it.
Yeah.
So there's more air circulation, so it won't overheat so fast.
Well, at the moment the cooler's underneath it.
Oh, okay.
That's the cool. It's inside. Let's see, people. The inner realm of Ben's computer setup. There's the cooler, the fans.
Okay. Yeah.
I just keep forgetting to put it on.
Okay.
I used to have. Oh, sorry, I caught the mic then. So yeah, today I can be answering Wojtek's questions, and we can look at a little bit at because I am a proponent of Kersey temperament theory and taking the best from it, because it does seem to work.
Yes, I was actually reading that comment a few months ago, maybe a year ago. I think it was I researched it based on the interview you did with Darinadi, where he did this justification for the Kersey temperaments. And yeah, I find it very intuitively right. For N types, you have to distinguish between their judging functions, whether they are Fs or T's, because the judging function is cognitive, and for sensor types, it's rather the perceiving function that makes the difference. Rather, they are extroverted sensors or introverted sensors. I completely agree with it.
Yeah,
it makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, and I would say another way I look at it is I see SE and SI as being more impactful on someone's personality than NI and NE. Because
but then we have to ask this question: how does this view on things look from a model G perspective, where the second, the auxiliary function is for SJs and extroverted sensing? How would you what are your thoughts on this?
Well, Victor does recognize. I mean, but you see, the SE types and the SI types sort of show up as in the romance styles. So the SE types show up as aggressors, the SI types show up as caregivers, and he does say that the the position 5 is the demonstrative function, so it isn't noticeable. But if you want to know how SE shows itself in ESFJ and ESTJ, he said that he wrote that for ESFJ it shows up in emotional pressure, and they've got a lot of willpower. ESFJs and ESTJs as well have a lot of willpower, you know, and they can enforce things. They can be the drill sergeants.
Yes.
Oh.
And that's the. I mean, I talked about this before in the auto hangout. That's how I see as ESTJs. They are very, very extroverted, sensing oriented. They get shit done, as
Yeah.
And so I can totally see them as TASE. But this is, I mean, Model G is looking at the types from the energetic point of view. I'm not quite sure, maybe you can explain this to me. What is the exact definition of energetic energy in the context of socionics? Because I mean, intuitively, okay, you can understand this, but what is like the exact definition of energy in this model?
I think it's just psychic energy as to how much, literally how much energy you have for a function, how much you care for it. Like, so for instance, your lead function, which people like to use a lot. So for instance, INTPs have a lot of energy for TI, and they like using TI, and it's trained up and it's a big part of them. Whereas FI is more tiring for them to use. The other functions are more, like TE it's more tiring, it's more of an effort. They don't enjoy it as much.
So it's about function energetic efficiency, like how taxing on psycho energy resources this function is to the individual.
Yeah, there's also another aspect to it in terms of the demonstrative function, where so this is the Model G of the ESFP, where the functions with the most energy, from one point of view, is SE and FI, which is what we would say ESFP is in MBTI. Now, Victor would say that auxiliary function of FI is the strongest function at close range. But if you've got an ESFP that is doing their social mission, like being the performer, being the center of attention, maybe they are using FE more than FI. Because so the way Jeff Miller talks about it is that, and he's an ESFP, is that when he is the center of attention, his energy is focused on reading the crowd and entertaining the crowd. So it's debatable. And I've looked at Dario's research. It's debatable as to what truly is the auxiliary function. And when I've looked at the brain maps, for the introverts, it seems to be that, that more times than not, it's the correct. But for extroverts, it's more the auxiliary function. I can give you an example of ISTP in MBTI, and classical socionics is TISE. But when you look at their brain activity, you've got a lot of activity in the back of the brain, which is associated with SI. And the same with ISFP as well. And the same with, when you look at INFJ, they have a lot of activity just in front of the right ear, which is, and the INFP has a lot of activity in that area when they listen a lot. So that shows that with the INFJ, it really is like, if you want to define them in functional terms, it's like NIFX, because they use in both FE and FI quite a bit.
So basically, it says that Model G basically says that we use our dominant function just in one attitude, extroverted or introverted, but that we use our auxiliary functions both ways.
Yeah, I suppose, and there's also, I think it depends on the mode that someone's in, whether they're at close range or far. Like we were talking about with the ESFP, it depends on the situation when they're going to be the performer.
But I find it interesting that the auxiliary functions in both attitudes is used, but the dominant function is only used in one attitude, and the opposite attitude is actually very unfavorable.
Well,
it's when you look at all this Model G graphs that you did, the opposite attitude of the dominant function is always in the pessimum energy block at the end, right? Yeah.
It also has very, very high information. So, for instance, and I can give you a personal example, is I listen a lot to the economist Peter Jeff, and so that's a lot of business logic and theory about business logic, and I listen to all of his podcasts. I used to be a subscriber to the Peter Schiff show, and he would, like, 5 days a week, he would have like a 2-hour show on about Austrian school economics, and I would listen to about 2 of those episodes a week. So I had a lot of information. So this function is weird, that you have a lot of information for that function.
Which function are you talking about?
The control function, so the opposite vertness of the lead function.
Yes. But wait a moment, I did a drawing a couple of months ago. I will send it to you. Where is it? There. I sent it to you on Facebook. Can you maybe put it on?
Yeah. Okay. I'll just try to do that. If my what I'll do is that for the moment I'll stop sharing the screen. Right. Excellent. I can do it through Messenger. Right. Right. My sound might go a bit peculiar.
Yeah.
See, I have to remember how to spell your name, because it doesn't. If I don't know it, I've got to put WOJ. So that
Wojtek. Wojtek.
Yeah. So that it shows up in the messages. Because if you just put WOT, because I thought it was Wojtek.
Actually, it's Wojtek, but
no, sorry, I meant in terms of the spelling. Like, because I was like putting in WOTJ and then nothing was turning up. Yeah. Oh right, yeah, I've seen this before. I'll
Yeah, I posted it in the Model G group some time ago.
Yeah, I'll download that. I think I've seen this. There was a lady that did a really complicated socionics channel. She did like a few videos, like really, really complicated, and then she did like gardening videos. Really complicated ones. Did she use the diagram that was like this?
Okay. Now, what I tried here is to put Model G and Model A in one diagram, and I put on the dimensionality of the functions, and their energetic level, and try to compare that.
Yeah, I'm just naming the file. Wojtek's Model W. I'll put it in. I'll just try and get it in the correct folder. So then it'll be in the one that we can see. Right. So it's not quite that. It's miscellaneous hangouts. What did you interviews with profiles? Slides common to all interviews. Right, so I saved it there. So now if I close that, then I go back to this. Right, now
I very much like your diagrams, by the way. They are very informative, and I like how it compresses information in one. People, I posted your diagrams sometimes in other groups, and
very good.
They said like, oh, this looks complicated. I don't know. I find it very, actually very intuitively understandable.
Well, I had quite a bit of help with that, with the computer graphics. Like Scott gave me quite a bit of help. This is how it sort of started out. With, it started out like that. So
yeah, I remember that once.
Yeah, and I took this information from Victor sent me a paper. It was like Teachers Roundtable, and so a lot of these are actual quotes where it's a bit more mangled, the English, and so I sort of summarised the information from that paper he sent me, the 2012 Teachers Roundtable, and also from some information that he sent to me. So these quotes here were from Facebook messages, like strongest function at close range. According to it, man is asserting itself at the same time as a signal for attracting your jewel. But that isn't that helpful. But this one is, like, in terms of the control function. The actions for which the person is closely monitoring is very sensitive. About it, the type thinks a lot. So we'd have to ask some INTPs about the type of TE things they think about but don't actually do. And that might be why, and this is why I think I might score as an INTJ on the MBTI, is that I'm thinking TE things, it's just that I don't actually do it.
Right, exactly.
I'm a wannabe J.
I had the exact same thoughts on this, and when I saw these diagrams of model G, this was totally it. Like, yeah, I get TA, I understand it very well. Theoretically, I know how to be effective and productive, but I rarely get to apply it.
Right, so are you an INTP then, Wojtek?
Yes, I am most probably an INTP and LIINE subtype, probably in socionics.
Right, so then this is the next phase where I did the diagrams. There might be a little bit here that shows a little bit more detail as to how it was done, but it's sort of just a case of like layers underneath. So that's like obviously the first layer, and then like 60. Because I didn't want to do it 16 times, so I just did the undersheet 16 times.
No, your diagrams really helped me to get more into a model G, because up until a year ago there were just terrible translations and Russian originals for model G, which you had to translate via Google Translate or whatever, and when you try to understand some complex models with terrible translations, it's it's not that easy.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I had a lot of help. I mean, for instance, I had the information from Victor himself, so I could ask him questions about it. I was then able to have him send me the profiles, like the newest profiles in depth, and then this one was based on a Google Translate, And all the bits in green are the bits that match me. So, and then Scott Cowick, I don't know if I should mention this.
INTJ, right?
Yes, a helpful
Right,
INTJ.
yeah,
So I wonder
yeah.
if it's like an Enneagram 3 wing too. And so then he helped take it to the next step by doing some graphics for me, and then we sort of worked together on getting and he's the one that, like, so obviously he's taken my colours and that were there, so he's used the same system, the same arrangement there with the same colours. He added the vertical arrows there, and what we did is we made it bigger, because I got the I was pasting in the ESFP profile, and I was going, oh no, Scott, help me! There's too much text; it won't fit in. So, for instance, you'll see that when I show you the ESFP profile, and I'm a little bit irked by the fact that the ESFP gets a bigger profile than me. Right, when they get more text, they get more bullet points. So when you see the ESFP profile, they get a load of bullet points. There you go, much more text, and yet, so we had to scale up the graphic in order to fit it all in. Look, they get a lot. Oh, and another thing I did is scalable vector graphics, so that when you zoom in, it's so sharp.
What did you do this with? Inkscape or
Google Draw. Google Draw.
Okay.
And like I said, mostly Scott's technical Scott's help. They're taking my original hand-drawn graphic and coming up with something, and if anything goes wrong, I have to ask him for help. So so one of the things I've learned is an advice to INTPs in trying to cope with the TE control function is network with people who can do the TE things for you.
Exactly. Yeah. And there is and the SE, not to forget. I normally, I am SE vulnerable. That's a concept from socionics I can totally identify with. I never liked pushy people, and never wanted to become myself pushy and all dominant and basically a bigot. But I came. No, but I came to value this function more as I started to understand socionics, because it really gets things done, if it's not well thought out. It is something that helps to put things into reality.
Well, I can see that with like, say, ESTPs, because they've got like creative TE, so you've got the TE and the SE working together. But a lot of ESFPs are like Enneagram 7, and so I'll show you this diagram. So, okay, this is for ESFP. What I did was, originally I was going to post it in the Kersey group and not have any Model G stuff on it. So if you see here, you've got positions 1, 2, and 5, SE, FE, FI. And what I did was, I took the same configuration of those first 3, and I did that there. And so 1, 2, and 5. And I looked at the bits in the Kersey profile which I thought matched up. And so, and these are all lines from the Please Understand Me to entertainer performer type, the ESFP. He later called it the improviser performer in personology. And I would ask people in Hangouts, which function do these sound like in the green box? Which function do these sentences sound like?
Yeah, and that's warmth, that's charming, that's FE, And it goes pleasure-seeking, generosity, kindness. Okay, that also sounds like FE.
I sort of used that though as to help get, because that was the thing that when I first saw Model G was like, what? But because the creative function, because I love my NE, you probably love your NE as well, and it's like, no, NE's out the window, NI is there, and it's like, I don't even know what NI is, I can't even see it. How can it be my second function? And it's like, but this is to like show to people, look, this is the SFP. Look at all these FE things they actually do in their behavior. They don't value it, but they just do it.
But it's, I guess it's more visible for extroverts. Like the Model G second function is more visible for extroverts because, well, it's extroverted, it's seeable from the outside. Like our and I never was sure about it. I think I use it. I always got a high NI level in function tests, like the keys to cognition from Darinadi. But I never could make sense of it. So before I got to know Model G, I thought that I just misinterpret what an I really is, and that I probably get this high results because I confuse some parts of the I with an I. Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay, so that's for INTPs, a diagram that puts together the dimensionality, the information of the functions and their energetic level. So we have the four-dimensional functions in the upper half, TI and NI. We have 1D functions, FE and SE, and 2D functions below. And at the left, we have three-dimensional functions. And the energetic level is maximum energy, that's the diagonal. The diagonals are always the energetic levels. So TI, NI, maximum energy, optimum energy, NI, FE, and so on. So I drew this because I wanted to understand, especially for extroverted thinking, and this comment you wrote for LIs, that that it has for INTPs the highest information density, but the lowest lowest energy level. So I want to see if I can put it all together, and that's something I would like to ask you. Do you know the what Darinadi said about INTPs never being embarrassed, but when they get embarrassed, they get really embarrassed.
Yeah.
Like in his
Volcano.
He
said that in the original Google Authors video.
Yes. And I was wondering if this isn't some interaction between NI and FE. Like we have a high dimensional information dense function like NI, but we have a very low information function FE. And if this reaction in INTPs, and I know it myself, isn't an interaction between these two functions, and I projects possible outcomes of social interactions that are maybe negative, and pushes all this information, this four-dimensional information, into extroverted feeling, which is one-dimensional for us and can process all this information. And this is just a random thought I had. I always wanted to ask you this, what you think of this.
Well, I like the idea that if the INTP is upset, right, and remember the SE break, and they're thinking the embarrassment, and they're thinking about this could get even more embarrassing, and they sort of like see all the possibilities of how this embarrassment can get worse and worse and worse and worse.
Right.
So that's from one point of view. And then another thing I thought of recently, Dario, was INTPs tend to have, he calls it the green shield, a sort of theta wave state in the neocortex that suppresses emotions in the limbic system. Hi, Mel. And I was wondering that might be an example where the neocortex is suppressing these emotions, and then when they do come out, it's like boom, 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 a volcano. So that might be from a more empirical point of view. Ah, okay, yep.
But this region of the brain that activates when you are embarrassed is somewhere at the left.
Yeah, I'll get the behind the left ear, region T5, very active for SJs. In fact, I can do a little test on you, a test for you in terms of your INTP nature, and that is Victor's definition of TI minus and TI plus. Yeah, that and there, T5, feel embarrassed.
Yeah. And as an ENTP gets embarrassed, it goes over to the other regions nearby and like a thunderstorm.
Oh, for ENTP or INTP?
INTP.
Okay. Right. This is on. So this is on Victor's. Oh, he's got. Oh, his slate's gonna die. Right. Okay. Well, I've got a feel now. So, okay, folks. Well, it's a bit small at the moment, so I can go through this, or you can read it yourself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through Victor's definitions of TI minus and TI plus. Hi, John Smith. John Smith, currently living in Germany.
So this was my iPad dying. I switched to my notebook, but probably the sound quality is now, and the video quality will be worse.
The sound quality is the main thing in Hangouts, and the sound quality is okay. There's no, because you're wearing headphones, there's no echo.
No feedback.
And, so this is on, I don't know. So this is Dario on SI. I don't know how much interest in it because I mean we were doing a hangout on the functions, and it's like I wanted to ask Victor this question of what do you think of Dario's definitions? And Dario has sent a PDF of his book 8 Keys to Self-Leadership, his functions book, that Keys to Cognition test is based on. So they're very similar. So if you like the Keys to Cognition definitions, there's more of that in his book 8 Keys to Self-Leadership, those levels of development, because that came out 2 years before.
I bought his book on what's the name of this book, where he presents
neuroscience of personality.
Probably where he presents his EEG averages for each type. So I'm not sure about what his definitions are. I read it some time ago, but it's been a while.
Yeah, this is for the viewers, so they can see neuroscience of personality, and I'll give them a sneak peek.
Very good book.
Brain regions. Brain regions for the types. Ooh.
No, seriously, it's very interesting.
Ah, right. So you've actually got it delivered, and you've got it in your mitts at the moment.
Yeah, I have the ebook version.
Ah, right. And of course, that's not right. That's TE. But oh yeah, TI, massive difference. So I don't want to get it too sharp for the people. They've got to buy the book. So front of the brain very active for INTP, back of the brain very active for ISTP, and these areas associated with vision. And I've done some little, like, I've done some assessments. Does this fit Model A better or Model G? And I've sort of like looked at the brain areas for each type.
Okay.
And I was sort of going, well, this one fits Model G better, this one fits Model A better.
Mm.
And so, so what I can do is I can go through and tell you what my opinion is of each type, which one fits better.
I mean,
so
this are static averages. His first book just covers static averages. We have to say that. His new book will cover the activation patterns, and I'm looking forward to it. He presented some of these results in the video you were posting with Dario Nardi and Viktor Gulenko. I'm very eager until his new book will come out. Do you know a date for that?
No, it's going to be. It's been in the works a while.
Yes.
I don't want to be. Hopefully this decade.
Yeah.
So based on my interpretation of the results, for a start, you can see how intelligent ESTPs can be in these front regions.
Yes.
And low FI as well. They're like, if you like look at the brain, and he's actually shown this in the video, like the brain map of ESTP and INFP, total opposites, and that matches socionics. And it also gives me proof for saying, look, the way Dario is typing INFPs is the same as EII, because look at the functions. Very strong FI, it's like the opposite of ESTP. So, so based on my interpretation of the brain maps, I would say that Model A fits ESTP better than Model G, just in terms of the activity, and Model A fits ESFP better. And then when we go to the introverts, I would say that Model G fits ISTJ better. Is it close? Did I say Model G better, the ISTJ. And what have I got for? And it looks like I've made it a tie for Model A and Model. Just in terms of what is the strongest second function, whether it's the creative function, whether it's like, so for example, in ISTJ, SITE, is the second function TE or TI, which has the most activity. So for ISFJ, so for ISTJ, for SITE, I'll put Model G, because you do see some TI activity. For ISFJ, I'll put Model A, because you see more FE activity than FI activity. Although they are good listeners. It's just that maybe they don't put their own personal sentiment on things because they're more thinking about other people, ISFJs. That's a controversial comment. Hopefully, no any NFPs watching. For ENTPs, I've got them as a big Model G type. I've got them as Model G, NETE, because they don't have much TI activity in the ENTP. It's like fairly in the white areas in the front. So not NETE. For ENFP, I have them as a Model A matching because they have more activity in FI areas than FE areas. For the introverts, more of the introverts match Model G. Actually, INTJ, though, I have matching Model A.
All right.
Although it's... Yeah, I have the more matching Model A, I think.
If I remember correctly, the static brain pattern, ISTJ and INTJ are very similar, right? I don't know if I remember this correctly, but as far as I remember, I saw that they have a very similar pattern. And
looking at the diagrams, is that the ISTJ has a lot of activity in F8, so they're very strong FI and FE. FE in terms of my mother's an ISTJ is massive attention on what people think of them and what is socially acceptable and what is the done thing, but psychologically closed. Whereas in the comparison INTJ, they're psychologically closed and they don't care they care the least of all the types about what people think of them and what is expected and what is the done thing.
Right.
So the similarity is in the being psychologically closed, but ISTJs are guardians. So they're in a weird situation where they are very aware of what people think of them and want to be part, but they're psychologically closed. So.
But you said that the general pattern you see that how was it? Model G was better for introverts than for extroverts, and Model E the other way around.
Generally, it's just in terms of the matches. Like when I totaled up the matches.
Yeah.
So for instance, I've got Model G as a better fit for ISTJ, and Model A actually is a better fit for INTJ. For INFJ, I've given that one to Model G because they have high activity here to do with like personal sentiments and placing of values. So it looks like, if you were to guess, that you would say like NIFI for that one rather than NIFE. But obviously, in terms of behavior, you see that you use quite a bit of it. And again, just interpretation, ESTJ seems to be, you see, the thing is, there's not really an area for SE because it's like a delocalized state. There's not like an SE area in the map because it's like a whole brain state.
Right. It's I think Daronadis called it the ping pong state. No, the
tennis hop. Yeah.
Tennis hop state. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got my summary here of which matches what, and then ENTJ I've got as Model A. So generally the extroverts match. ISTP I've got as Model G because their top function is like, don't look at it too sharp for people, is not a lot of TI activity at the front. They have a different kind of TI at the back, and again, back of the brain extremely active for ISTP, and that area is very much associated with the SI DOMs because it's visual cortex. Like for instance, we know that the occipital lobe is vision. So for instance, if you're a boxer and you get hit in the back of the head, your vision's going blurry. We know that's to do with vision. INTP is very front-brained. I like how this particular INTP is an older gentleman and he's got more activity in the FI area.
Yeah.
So this is probably something like roll FI. I hope it's not too clear because Dario might kill me. It's just going to be blurry enough. I'll just not hold it as far back. I want people to buy the book.
I was posting one of this out of this book in the INTP group, and I just put it up for like 1 hour and then deleted it. Yeah, I mean, you have to buy the book. It's not expensive. I think it's like $10 now, and for the ebook version.
But if you want to buy it, it costs me £16 because of the postage. Because I like making notes and stuff. So ESFJ, don't want it too clear. Back of the brain, very left-brained, ESFJ, and some TI areas active as well, and some INTP areas active.
Remind me again, the TI areas are in the middle part, the 4 areas.
Yeah, so the frontal areas. So it's like the frontal lobe.
Yeah.
So for instance, F's are frontal, P are parietal, T are temporal, and and then we've got ENFJ is a little bit different from.
ENFJs, what is your verdict on Model G versus Model A from Daronati's research?
Well, the problem there is, when you're assessing those types, when you're assessing types that have a judging function, and you're sort of assessing, then you're assessing The second function is then a perceiving function. And that's quite tricky because that tends to be a delocalized state rather than, like, so for instance, when it's a judging function that's second, there is a part of the brain that you can say, oh, that's more active, but when it's, like, it's hard to see NE and NI in the diagrams, except that you can say that region T6 is quite active in the ENFJ, and we'll say that that region is NI. So sort of like here.
Yeah.
I hope this is not, because this can get shot. If someone downloads the video in 720p and starts taking VLC screen grabs, oh no.
Yes. No, but for example, I mean, how Dario describes when he asked people about their future plans, and NI dominance can tell exactly how their future will look like. They actually imagine it.
How they imagine their future.
Yeah.
Right, because if their NI is that good, I'll have them. Let's see how much money they make gambling. I don't really take the camera. So again, back of the brain, very active. This is for ISFP. So I would say this would indicate FISI. The SI is very strong in. But you see, it's hard to see how much SE is being used in this particular diagram. We don't know how much they're in their tennis hop pattern. But SI is very strong in ISFP. And Kersey wrote that ISFP was the kindest of all the types. Yes, they were impulsive, and yes, they might leave their relationship, but they are the kindest of all the types. Probably up there with ISFJ. And then this is the opposite of ESTP. Because it's like a halo effect.
INFP.
Yeah, the halo. Yeah, they like that. Yeah, the angelic INFPs, and I'll just compare that for people with. So hopefully this will make people buy the book rather than say, "Oh, that's it, got enough now, don't need to buy it." So I can angle this as I've just got to get it right, and then people can compare. So we have. I've got to get it the right way around for me, because then I won't get confused. So if I go to the Google Hangouts toolbox, it's taken a while. There we go. I'm just going to get the camera the right way around for me, and then it will make it easier for me to show things. And I'll just put a little plug on there. Right, but the one on the left is ESTP, and you can see that the center of the map is more active than the outside. And then for the INFP, it's the outside that's more active.
Dark means active, white means less.
He's switched that around now. In his new book, he's going to be doing it white as more active, black as least active.
But not to confuse people who will watch this, the two people who will watch this.
Yeah. So that's a cool book. And then this is based on Keys to Cognition. Well, no, Keys to Cognition website is based on this, and it has loads of advice for development, loads of good stuff on. And for the socionics people out there who are saying, "Oh, Ben, he's a what's that term they call it now? A compatibilist," because I am a compatibilist. Is that Dario mentions the word comfort 9 times in about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages. He mentions the word comfort 9 times when talking about SI. Okay. So obviously we're in the same ballpark. And what I think it is, I'm going to do some more research on it, and I suggest other people buy this book by Helen Fisher, who's a bit of an ENTP and should have given Kersey more credit. Is serotonin might be the bridge between the socionics SI and the the MBTI SI, because serotonin makes people more agreeable, and so more likely to go along with the way things are done, like stabilizing with a predictable standard, the conventional way of things. Also, calmness, and it's not so far from calmness to comfort.
It's anti-correlated with big 5 neurotism, and low low neurotism big 5 usually means you have high serotonin levels, right?
Sorry, did you say what? Did you say high or like which is high?
For low neurotism, high serotonin levels.
For low, yes, for low.
Yes, because people with high serotonin, that's why it is an antidepressant. The serotonin inhibitors, reuptake inhibitors, are there for curing depressions and similar.
Wojtek, are you left-handed?
I'm not sure. I might be an left-handed who was taught to use his right hand.
Do you know why? Do you know why I asked that question, folks? Because and you can go back and rewind it. Is when Wojtek was remembering something, his eyes moved to the up and left of the screen. Now, right-handed people, they usually look up and to the right of the screen, or rather to their left. And you looked in the direction that might indicate that you're left-handed. Where it's the eye accessing cues.
I get a lot of mixed results when I tried to test it for a while, but there are no real tests for it.
Yeah.
Like there's this myth. It's actually a myth that when you look at these pictures that can be viewed from both sides and you see something different. The most famous one is the rabbit that can be a duck. You know that one?
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah, and there's this myth going around that right-handed persons first see the duck or the rabbit. I don't know which way it was,
crazy.
and yeah, but it's not true as far as I researched it. But
I like the one that's like either a bear or a beautiful woman.
yes,
that
the
particular
ballerina.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's and in that one I got the left-handed result. I always saw it first counterclockwise or clockwise. I don't remember which way it was supposed to be. And I did why I suspect this. I saw my parents did a baby book, where I did my first writings, and I did all the things that left-handed people do, like writing from right to left and stuff like this. And I always try to use my left hand for eating. Yeah, but whatever. By the way, Darius' book. Let's do some advertisement. It's great, and beside the diagrams of the activated regions, he does an analysis of functional groups at the end, and this part is very interesting. So he analyzes functional groups like cursor temperaments and TFs and STs and every probable combination, and some socionics groups. And
in this book?
In this book, yeah, at the end, at the very end.
I've not really looked at that yet. If you're an ISFP, really get this book, because it's got a whole chapter on his favorite type, the ISFP, and it's like it shows like three different types of subtypes of ISFP. He loves the ISFPs.
Yeah. he, I mean, his results are not that clear on typology. I mean, he gets results that correlate strongly with MBTI. So the regions that are active on a verge for a certain type are similar within a type, and the correlation, the intra-type correlation is very strong. Do you remember some values? It was a while since I read this the last time.
Oh, you mean the R values?
Yeah. So
you might have said something like 0.7 maybe. I can't really remember the.
Yeah, but the intra-type correlation was strong, and for functional groups it was even stronger. Like for the temperaments, I think it was maybe the strongest.
In terms of matching models to results, this is my opinion of which one fits. You know, for the second function, or like that. So, for instance, whether INFJ is NIFE or NIFI in terms of activity.
Yeah.
So, for the EPs, I've got Model A winning 3-1. So I have ESTP, ESFP, and ENFP, all as Model A types, and ENTP is a Model G. For the IPs, so that's IP and socionics, folks. So that would be I have INTJ as Model A, so as NITE. I have INFJ as NIFI. I have ISTJ as SITI, and ISFJ as SIFE, and so that comes out as a 2-2 tie between those types. And then for the EJs, there's one tied result, and 3 of them match Model A heavily. So, based on the brain activity, looking at the map of ESTJ, they really are TESI, and the ENTJ seems to be a tie. So the second function can be either NE or NI, I suppose. ESFJ is like clearly FESI. In ENFJ is like FENI. Now for the IJs, so this is IJ and socionics, so the IP is an MBTI. I've got INTP as a tie. So you don't really know whether it's TINE or TINI, although it's hard to see the whole person. I've got ISTP as a definite TISI, because like I said, the back of the brain really active, and the TI areas, back of the brain really active. Although again, we don't know how much they're in the tennis hop pattern, because it doesn't really show up in that. I mean, maybe in an ebook in future you could have like a GIF that moves, that sort of like shows the whole brain states. That would be cool, yes. Wouldn't it? You could have a moving GIF.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you can include animations in PDFs, but that's what I wanted to ask you. How does this change when you include his newest research of the patterns? I guess you have some inside knowledge on that because you have contact with the area. Do you is there a more clear picture with this chronological patterns? I mean,
well, that's something we could ask him. I mean, it would be we could. I mean, he has the technical know-how to be able to do it. He might be able to do some animated GIFs. In future, I did ask him about ISTP in the Hangouts, where I said, "Hey, right, how does SI show up in the, what we normally think of as TISE?" and he did go through those slides for Victor, because I wanted to ask Victor's questions first. He did show how SI works in ISFP, FISE, and ISTP, TISE. So that might be able to answer your question by what he said there, because he did talk about how they use it. But yeah, I mean, in future maybe some animated GIFs. And then so I had, and then I got ISFP based on my interpretation, FISI, and for INFP I have them as FINI. But you see, the NE, we don't really know how much they're in that state, how common that is. But I would interpret the INFP as being, especially if you compare them to ISFP, is the INFP will think about the consequences of what they say and do on the feelings of other people. And so they're always thinking ahead in terms of like the impact on relationships. And also, that thinking ahead with the NI might be what makes INTPs and INFPs hesitant to act, because they can see how things can go wrong. Whereas,
but in a rather subconscious way, maybe.
But also sometimes I'm like, oh, don't do that, this could happen. I suppose for me, for INTP, because we think about it probably more consciously as, oh, don't do that, this could happen, don't confront this person, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen. So they like tend to turn the other cheek, INTPs. I don't know if you've done that, you're an INTP. Do you turn the other cheek because you don't want to end up in a confrontational situation?
I used to. I try to develop myself to not do this anymore. I try to be more conflict resistant, and I'm making progress on that. I actually, because I'm INTP, I'm doing this systematically. I research this. I make experiments on this, and
tell us what the INTP is watching. What kind of experiments have you done on your oh my god, I've got to do the joke. What kind of experiments have you done on your INTP-ness?
A lot. I mean, I experiment around all the time with different stuff, because I have different. In particular for SE, it may sound silly, but getting into online fights.
Ooh.
Yeah, because you know, when you are discussing something and then suddenly the atmosphere gets really sober and ugly, like really ugly, and you automatically try to get out this. You're not comfortable with this. You're avoidant of the situation because there's conflict, and I try to really bring myself in the situations, also in real life. I tried several times, and to become more resistant to the situations. It is known for INTPs to react in a goofy for situations to resolve them. We suddenly start to make jokes to break the ice or to lighten up the situation. And you see this a lot, you observe this a lot in INTP, when there's a situation in the INTP Facebook group, when there is a situation where people get at each other's throat, there usually is some INTP who then comes in and makes a goofy joke and tries to lighten up things, and that's just something I observe.
Now that group that we're in, that we posted the link in, the Charlie Brown INTP group, I'll call it.
Yes.
There'll be a lot of ENTPs in that group.
Yeah, no. I mean, Generally online, there are so many mistypes because people took some of this online tests, like 16 personalities. The first test I took, I got into an MBTI like 2 years ago. The first test I took was from 16 personalities, and at the time I didn't know that it is not really MBTI. It's not even Kersey. It's more like a covered Big Five test. It's really, they even added a fifth dichotomy and called it assertiveness, I think, or no. What do they call it? But there's an assertive and turbulent type, and that's just neurotism. That's, the questions are like out of the standard Big Five questionnaire for neurotism, and a lot of these questions are from Big Five, from the Big Five questionnaire. And so basically, it's rather that than actual MBTI test.
So do you you know do you know Nicole?
Yes.
She might join us in a hangout because it looks like she's back, or maybe.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Maybe or maybe not. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So I'll practice your name, Wojtek.
Wojtek, yes.
Wojtek. Right. Let's see what we got here. In terms of. Right. Okay. He's a good guy. Do you know Jonathan Campbell? So we could invite him. We can invite.
By the way, I never saw you commenting on this, but what do you think about the neo-Jungian guys and their work? Did you familiarize yourself with it? From Eric Thor and Chris Johnson.
I'm a member of the group, but I've not looked at it closely. I'm mainly sort of concentrating on like Model G stuff, and
but you might like their research, especially Eric Thor writes like the most stuff on it, but Christian Johansson does like the hardcore research on it mostly, and they do a lot of research on hormonal levels and genetics that influence type. And on their webpage, neo-Jungian typology.com, org, I don't know, Google it. They have a very, very extensive set of research done. You might like it. I think especially you might like it. I will send this to you.
That'd be great. Yeah, you can send it over Facebook, because if you do it in this, it'll disappear.
Okay. Yeah.
Afterwards. Wojtek, how much time do you have left for this chat?
What time is it? It's for me it's 20 before midnight. I still have some time left. I don't have any plans for tomorrow, so let's wait for Nicole.
Yeah, exactly. Because that enables me to prioritize what I want to say, the things we can discuss. So yeah, I'm just sending the message. But in terms of the Kersey model, so his like first cut is to split the intuiting types from the sensing types by looking at and that cut was in Kretschmer is abstract versus concrete language. And so what I've noticed is that you can have people, like you watch them on the news, and if they're sensing types, they're not going to be using abstract language. And so, and then when you find out about like how good students they were academically, it's because you can underestimate their intelligence because they're not talking about abstract things, because they're talking.
Right.
It's just that, because they can be good students. Like one on Fox News. What's her name? She graduated high school at 14.
Gretchen?
And what's her name? Jamie Colby. And then all these like someone like someone who's such an ESFJ, Megyn Kelly, like a lawyer, but most of the time the way they speak, not using abstract speak, and people tend to associate abstract speech with academic intelligence, because usually academic people talk in an abstract way.
Yeah.
But so that's from one point of view. But having looked at NLP and looked at the meta model, you can look at mistakes people make in language, and and you can use this to assess the intelligence of a lot of intuiting types by the mistakes they make with their abstractions. And there's like lots of little errors, like I can go through some of them. Nominalization, where you're like turning, it's not that much of an error, but it's like where you're turning something that is not a noun into a noun, and sort of treating it like that. That's debatable. Then you've got nulk. Oh, we've got nulk. Nominalization, unspecified verb, where people write things in an argument and they don't say how something was done. So it's like the sensing type would say, "Hey, intuitive boy, be specific. Say how it was done." Or you might say, where is it? No, lack of referential index. Okay, who did it? You know, the people who are too vague, they're not saying how it was done. Who did it? Okay. Or they will say, or they won't say better than. And then so you would say better than what? So it's like you can have intuitive people that leave out these details, these concrete details, or they might. So that's delete. Those are examples of deletion, where things are left out of someone's speech. Then you've got generalization, where, and I think intuitive types are more prone to make these mistakes. Generalization, where they will say things like all, everyone, all AINTPs are this, all ESFPs are this, but it's just generalization. Or they'll generalize about the possibility and they'll say, that's impossible, that's possible. Again, just too much generalization. And so if you see people making these mistakes, then I would say that these are intuiting people of lower intelligence based on these kinds of mistakes that they are making. It's just sloppy thinking. And then you've got distortion. So we've got deletion, generalization, now on distortion. And that is, I've memorized it as MOL, CCP. So you've got mind reading, and this is what NS can do, where they assume they can read people's minds. Then MOL, so mind reading. Then you've got reverse mind reading, where you assume that somebody else can read your mind and they know what your intentions are. L is, they call that lost performative, but it's more like lost evidence, where they where in a statement someone will assume something in a certain piece of evidence that they've not actually checked it out, or it's just something. It's just an assumption in terms of like something generally accepted that they've not actually checked out. And then you got something called cause and effect. We probably notice that so much in people, where they make mistakes in cause and effect. And it says, no, that's the effect, that's the cause. They make mistakes in terms of cause and effect. And then another mistake that intuiting types can make, and people is complex equivalence, where they will say, this is this. Like say, oh, that's what Hitler did. You know, where they make these odious comparisons, where they say, this is like this. And so And that's how you can judge intelligence and intuiting types, by the types of mistakes they might make. And so you've got cause and effect, complex equivalence, MOLCCP, and then P is presumptions. So if you see intuiting types making these kinds of mistakes, then that's a way of judging their intelligence. So
yeah, I mean,
sloppy.
the lack of differentiation in their ideas and the lack of actually looking things up and referencing them. Yeah, sure. That's a sign for I don't know.
I shouldn't have said
Maybe not
intelligence.
necessarily
I should have
in
said sloppiness.
sloppiness. Not. It's not a correct way. Not a correct academic way to make an argument. Whether it probably correlates to intelligence, but yeah, the first one, I mean, to not specify things like this person said this, or specify facts. I mean, that's just abstract versus concrete, and intuitives will have a problem with this in general. To spell out the details, because we see the patterns, we see the general patterns, we memorize them, but not like in history, for example, specific dates. When did this battle happen? March 90, the 6th of March 1945, whatever. But this I see rather as a general difference between concrete and abstract types.
Yeah, I mean,
I wouldn't.
Yeah, go on.
I think, for example, a concrete type can talk very very. It seems like he knows his stuff because he spells out a lot of details, and he references everything. And but that's just stuff he memorized, and he just repeats it.
Well,
and it may,
yeah, that is. Although. But I would say in advanced SI usage that it's everything. There is a tendency that everything they learn is authorized, but they are choosing between different sources. And I think SI types read a lot, and so they will be reading things on, because the mentality is, oh, I want to go to an expert to see how this is done. And they might read lots of different authors on the same topic. So advanced SI usage really is about learning all the different techniques. Now, I became different with SI is when I learned this. Oh dear, that's the battery, that thing that fell down, battery tester. Robert McKee had, based on, so he actually has these principles, not formally, to assess stories by. And it's like it was only when I got up to about 100 pages that I actually accepted it, and it was like, whoa, this is true. And so this is like an SI standard that I use. So it's like, as Darius calls it, stabilizing with the predictable standard. And I learned that, and eventually I came to accept that there is such a thing as technique, and from the Greek word techne, that there are these standard practices that have worked over time. And in other subjects, people accept them without question. There is correct musical technique. There is correct technique in many of the arts, but in Europe, they did not accept technique in writing, in terms of structure and in terms of the substance of the story being the gap. And he would talk about, so I can give you I'll give you some insights from, and this was based on, and this he isn't just come up with this. He says that it's from the Chicago school of Neo-Aristotelianism, where they went back at the poetics and they really fleshed it out, and they would combine it by saying, well, a story is a quest by somebody who has a super objective. So, because then that unifies all of the action, and it also determines early on what the person wants. And if the motivation is really strong, then they're going to go through a lot of big obstacles in order to get their goal, because the characters have to be motivated. So you're talking about these internal principles, and then you think about them. Yes, of course, a character has to be motivated in order to go through all these forces of antagonism. And McKee would talk about, and one thing that's interesting for typology is a lot of things that people talk about a lot in drama and in writings, they'll talk about a character dimension. So I'll ask you, Wojtek, what is a character dimension?
Well, a one-dimensional character, I'm just talking out of my ass here from because I never really did read this up, but it's about the depth of character. One-dimensional character probably is just a stereotype. A two-dimensional character has motivation somewhat more, and that three-dimensional character is the most in-depth one, right?
Well, what do you think, Jonathan? What do you think a one-dimensional character is?
It's kind of like that. I would go beyond three dimensionals though, because I think you get really complex, well fleshed out characters with background and relationships and all sorts of things to them. And I think there's also a lot of characters that can seem very one-dimensional until you put them in a certain situation or you have them interacting with certain people or things like that, about finding the conflict with them or whatever.
That's good. That's a great point there. That's a very good point. So what the key defines as a character dimension is a contradiction. Because as you said, people are different in different situations. So for instance, and you can have a contradiction between someone's surface characterization and their true character. So for instance, like with a sociopath, someone who's very charming, that's one side, but their true self be a bastard inside. So they're the contradiction between how they appear and how they are. So you can have like a charming thief. So there's the contradiction between. So that's one type, but there's also another kind of contradiction within the true character. The actual person themselves can have a contradiction within them. And if you look at Macbeth, Scottish person, his was, on the one hand, he's very, very ambitious. And on the other hand, he has this guilt. Those two things are very true about him, and there's a contradiction within him. And I think typology, a lot of these, they maybe need to look at because most people do have contradictions. And what you said, Jonathan, was great about people in different situations. So if you think about, especially if you think of things like The Godfather, or I think I've not seen a lot of The Sopranos, but certainly in The Godfather, where the way they act towards different characters shows different parts of them. So the way that, say, a mobster, some of the mafia, acts towards one of their victims is different from the way they act towards their wife, the way they act towards their children, the way they might act towards, say, their priest. And all of these different people show different sides to that character. And
sometimes it's the same person. Sometimes the victim is the friend or someone, and they're acting different in different situations.
Yeah.
And it's funny you mentioned Macbeth, because I saw the new Macbeth film just last month, and it was really kind of annoying because I caught myself trying to type him, trying to figure out what his type was. I think he was actually a 6, a counterphobic 6 or something. But, yeah. It's kind of weird though, because you're saying that he's got the ambition and the guilt, but in that film at least, part of his backstory was that he'd recently lost his son, and he'd just been through a war, and there's kind of a bit of despair as well. It's like he's got nothing now, so it's not necessarily ambition. It's more like he's in this pit, and then he's told that he'll be great, and his wife is also despairing, is pushing him on.
Yep.
That was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of design, it is a fantastic piece of writing design by Shakespeare. It's brilliant because he goes against Aristotle's rules, where it's why a guy who is a good guy who makes a mistake through no fault of his own, and that evokes pity, and that he's and he had a principle that he's like the audience but better. For Macbeth, though, he has all of these things to actually evoke sympathy for him, like him being. First of all, you got the king, who's such a nepotist. Right, Macbeth wins the battle. The king says, "Oh, thank you very much. I'll give you this poxy little award, but my son's getting the crown. Sorry there, Macbeth." Right. So then you have a situation with the witches, where the witches are proven when they say you will not be killed by anyone of a woman born. And so he assumes, oh, he can't be killed. So that's another thing. And then you've got his wife at him all the while, and then saying things like, "Then you were a man when you said it. If I'd have said it, I'd have killed my children." So he's getting at it. He's getting at it. He's got the witches. He's got his wife. He's really getting at it. And then an even better bit of design is that the actual hero of it, because obviously he had to be careful, Shakespeare, in terms of like when he was doing it. The actual good guy is written as a real moralistic arsehole, and he's hardly ever in the play. And so you don't relate, because normally in this kind of plot you would relate to the good guy and Macbeth the villain, but Macbeth is on stage so much of the time that you help to relate to him. So you get that, and then an interesting thing is just before the sword battle, where the good guy kills Macbeth, just before then, Macbeth is thinking about killing himself because his wife has just killed herself. And Macbeth, and he gives that speech about tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace. You know all that speech. I will. In fact, I have the flipping thing. I have it to hand. I will, just to show people. Right, that wonderful speech. Right, here we go. Right. So this is when Lady Macbeth has just killed herself because of her guilt. Right. She should have died hereafter. There would have been time for such a word. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time, and all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, out, breathe candle. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Right, so he thinks that life is worthless. This is just before the sword battle where he is killed. So maybe the subtext is, maybe Macbeth let himself get killed in the sword battle because he was such a good swordsman. So it's an interesting scene to have directly before, but you're sort of like, on the surface, it's like, oh, the good guy's killed the bad guy. So it's like you've got like this really subversive play disguised as a morality play. So in terms of design, you can have all these things under the surface. That's like the structures. So when I like learn all these things, I'm like, wow, there is such a thing as technique. There's technique in art. Like people go to art college. They learn all the techniques. They learn all the body proportions. They learn how to draw hands. They study anatomy. And there's some people out there saying, "Oh no, it must be the artist's individual talent." But no, there is such a thing as technique. So that has helped me. I have a greater appreciation of SI, and thinking that yes, most things there is a technique for them. And so I'm thinking with SJs is the smart SJs. They like to read, especially if they're like the SI types and they're like visualizing at the back. they're going to be reading about how to do things. And it'll be many different ways, but it's always going to be from an approved source in terms of an authority that they respect. Remember what Dario said about ESTJs? They respect people if the person's an authority. No, they listen to them if they're an authority and they respect them. So it's always, there has to be someone they respect. Right, I said my piece now.
How does the model of dimensionality of character applies to Michael Corleone in Godfather? How much dimensionality do you see in The Godfather, and how do you see the media in which the story is told actually making natural bounds for how in depth you can go into character? Because in a book you can write out their inner thoughts, their inner personality, while on the screen it is left up to interpretation what they are feeling or thinking at this moment.
But the way The Godfather was edited by
Mario Puzo, or was it Francis Ford?
Yeah, Walter Murch did the editing. Mario Puzo, he did the book.
I think he wrote
Superman. He also wrote Mario Puzo wrote the novel and the screenplay. He also wrote Superman, which was a good plot as well. Superman. So in the blink of an eye, right, good book on editing. But yeah, what you're saying there is very interesting. So you've got the other level, contradiction within true character, but then you change it. So for instance, Macbeth changes. So his true character is changing. Is what depending on the circumstances. And so for instance, the impact of Lady Macbeth killing herself has changed Macbeth. It's made him more depressed. So you see this interaction between the character and the environment. So that's when you get the character arc.
But just the model for the dimensionality of character. So a one-dimensional character would be a character that is only existing on the surface level. It's a hero, it's an archetype, stereotype, and he doesn't change over the plot. Two-dimensional would be like a conflicted.
No, it would just be. It's just literally how many contradictions they have. If they have no contradictions whatsoever, they are a no-dimensional character. So even if you do like an INTP, maybe if you do like a really faithful depiction of an INTP, from a dramatic point of view, you've got to look for actual contradictions, because then that's interesting to the audience. Because there would, I mean, you could write, because people recognize these types. Like you could like do a really faithful. So for instance, in I recently watched Pi and I reviewed the first half of it. He's like really INTP. He doesn't have any in any dimensions. There's no, except one point where the actor starts acting more ISTP than INTP. There's no dimensions to him. Now, if you do a character that's more rounded out, maybe you could do the dimensions like this, where say you've got someone that's almost self-dualized, where they've got a little bit of their dual in them. Maybe you could do like contradictions that way. And maybe you could do like with disintegration, like with Enneagram. You have a good character arc there in how someone can change with their development. So I think Enneagram is very useful for writers, especially if they mix it up a bit for the audience, where they combine, where they have an unusual Enneagram combination. Because an unusual combination of Enneagram with MBTI type, because then that will fascinate the audience. Because if you make it like an obvious combination, so for instance, if you do an ESFJ Enneagram 2, that's not going to be that interesting to the audience. But if you do an ESFJ Enneagram 8, that will be interesting.
Do you like the show Dexter?
I've not seen it yet, and I shouldn't have said that because I'm writing a character that's an ESFJ Enneagram 8. Damn it.
I'll be right back. I'm not a writer. No, do you like the Dexter?
I've not seen it yet, but I think American TV is better than the films because you've got the writers in charge
Yes.
rather than the directors and producers.
I really love movies and series where there is structure to it, where you see that character development.
Yep.
Well, no. I'm not interested in character development that much, but when there is a clear structure of why, of motivation, of why things happen, why characters act this way, this interests me.
Yeah,
But I think it's also a question of style and what you like. Like, for example, there are stories that are pure adventure stories that speak to NI. The character, they are not really drawn out, and it's not important. The things and the ideas that are transported are more important. The actual events are more important than what happens to the character and whether he has a character arc or not. Have you ever read something from Larry Niven, sci-fi author, The Ringworld? No. I think he's an ENTP, and his characters are kind of flat.
Yes, I noticed that ENTPs are crap at characterization.
Yeah,
because they don't even think about their own feelings.
Yes, probably. I didn't thought of that, but that's good. Yeah, and really, like his characters are just there for the general events that happen, and he just throws these ideas on you that he thought of. It's a sci-fi book. They discover the ring world, artificial construct around a sun, and that's the most important thing that's happening here. But I liked his book very much because of these ideas. And really, I didn't care if the main character fell in love and realized that he isn't in love, and I don't know. They don't develop at all. But it's, for this kind of story, it's also not important. So it's you say that there are technique and styles, but I don't think that it's applicable in a general way. That a story should have this element and this structure to be a good story.
Oh, well,
because
also, that would be ideal, but generally there are things like the characters should be motivated. They should have a quest.
Yes, in the case of Ringworld, it's like they kind of got into this because they were bored. The main character is 200 years old. He has done about everything, and an alien proposes to him to make an expedition to an underworld. So he says, yeah, whatever, why not, basically. And he is it an ENTP realization that you had?
What I was thinking about was Lord of the Rings crap characterization.
It's not that bad.
The characters are the characters are like so. Yeah,
the book's about
the only one with.
Come on,
the only one with.
And
Gollum's the only one. Gollum is the only one with a dimension.
That's not fair at all. That's not. I would not agree with that.
But Frodo does have like a character arc. He develops from a young naive
that's true.
hobbit to a more thoughtful and a more conflicted personality.
Do you both watch Game of Thrones? Now that is something with extremely good characterization.
I don't watch it. I've read the books. I've read most of the books.
Very good.
No, wait, no,
I'm
I've read
very
the books.
So, Jonathan, are you INTJ?
INFJ.
INF. Ooh. My favourite character, Jaime Lannister.
Yeah.
Brilliant character. You establish fantastic. Again, an example of fantastic story design.
Genius how they portray him as a villain and then gradually make him sympathize with him.
Yes.
Genius. Yeah.
And again, that is technique, and these are things that you can apply in other pieces of writing. So, for instance, you establish he is the best swordsman. Then you have many scenes like you have him pushing him out the tower. That's one thing. He has a fight with Ned Stark. One of his men interferes, and he doesn't want to finish off Ned Stark because he wants a clean kill, and he's telling that to his father. Then you have a situation where the thing that defines him, best swordsman, then cut off his hand. Wow, how does he now relate to the world where the thing he was best at is now taken away?
The thing is,
and then so he has his hand cut off, and then you have a situation. Then he goes back and rescues Brienne.
Yes.
Again, character in action. He made the choice. He could have gone on and done the selfish thing, but the fact that he chose to go back and rescue Brienne shows something about his true character because of his actual choice. And that's how you find out most about people, is through their choice.
But we, as a viewer, are drawn into Jaime Lannister as someone you can sympathize with him earlier. When he in this cage, when he starts to talk about his responsibilities, I think the mother Stark, what was the name? She comes to him and basically wants revenge and wants a statement from him why he crippled her son and everything else. And then he makes a speech about responsibilities. You can't loyalties. You can
all his different ones.
Right. And this was genius. And at this point, you start to sympathize with him. And even she couldn't really be disgusted by him. I think at this moment in the scene you see that she's conflicted because she came to this animal in the cage and wanted to have her revenge and her I don't know the English word, but whatever. And that's one moment when we are drew into Jaime Lannister, and later his relationship with Brienne, but they do it like bit by bit, and I love how the show doesn't go for cliches. I love it. They very consciously do the opposite. Like they do deconstruct cliches. It's not this, oh yeah, he's a rough guy and she is a lady and they will fall in love. No, it's
and if we go back again to the beginning of this chat, dimensions, they have the contradictions within them. Those characters in Game of Thrones, they have the contradictions. They are the dimensions.
In Game of Thrones, everyone is conflicted. I mean, to a point where it's,
And also you see the relationship between Jaime and oh god, not Tristan. Tristan's an ESTP. Tyrion. That's it, Tyrion.
Yes, his father.
Tyrion showed the example of, as a young man, he played a cruel joke on Tyrion, but by getting by getting a prostitute to pretend to be. So again, engineered a situation where Tyrion would rescue the prostitute from being raped, and then and he saw that as so you see the relationship, and then I think it was Jaime Lannister helped Tyrion escape as well, and then of course you got the relationship with Cersei. But another thing that's great about that character is just the performance, where just like when Brienne comes in the cage when he first sees it, goes, "Is that a woman?" It's just brilliant coming, and also talking about
the performance is great. The performance of the characters is great.
It's a little bit uneven. Cersei, the actress that plays Cersei is very good, Lena Headey. The actress that plays flipping Daenerys Targaryen is a mixed bag. Her voice is fantastic. So, for instance, when she gives those declarative speeches, and it's like she's so much a stage actress.
Yeah.
Her voice is cool. Her face is terrible. She looks like a rabbit in the headlights. There's these startled same expression in her eyes all the while.
Yes, yes.
And then
She does emote very well, yeah.
Yeah, but her voice is great. Like if you close your eyes, she's got real authority in her voice. So very much like a stage actress, good in the voice, not so good in the facial expression. Going back to The Godfather, you know, talking about all the stuff, you don't get all the stuff written inside, but you have a wonderful performance by Al Pacino. The eyes are fantastic, and so you can really read into those eyes, especially NTs when they get older. They can really see so, especially INTP, they can really see so much in the eyes, and that is what makes up for it. Now it would have been, you could have like mini-seriesed it and had like inner monologues. That would have been like the ultimate way of doing it, because then you get all the stuff that's inside. Like, if you hear their thoughts as well.
That never works for movies. I mean, there are some movies that try this, and it's more distracting.
It's too slow. It will slow it down. Yeah. That's another principle, is you have to think about composition. You have to think about the shape of it. So there's all these things that are true, and so you have like insight and incident that sets up the quest. You've got progressive complications, the things that the hero has to go through. You've got crisis, climax, and resolution. There are all these things that are components of a story. And
yeah, but you have bashed you have done bashing on Lord of the Rings, but in that regard, it's deliberate. I mean, you have a quest, really a classical role-play. It's a quest. They have complications on the way, which they resolve. They have one member of the group who betrays them, and later reestablishes himself as hero.
Oh, a surprise! That's good. Because it was rather lacking in surprises. In what I saw.
I mean, I have read the books before, so there weren't a lot of surprises for me. By the way, did you read the books?
No, I thought the film. Okay. Now, I remember when I was in the cinema, and it finished after about 3 hours. One woman said, as she gets out of the chair, she's probably an SJ. After all this time, and it ends like that, because it just sort of stopped. It just stopped at that part, where they're on the river, and the movie just stopped.
Yeah,
I think my mum said that.
And they live happily ever after.
Yeah, go on, Jonathan.
I think my mother said that or one of my parents said that when we saw it the first time. That was years and years ago. She's an ISFJ, I think.
Yeah.
With me though, it was more. I was actually, when I went into it, I'd never really heard of Lord of the Rings or anything like that. I had no idea what I was in for, and I was really young at the time. So I was actually really, really impressed with all that, and I thought it was going to end about halfway through when it did, and then it went on. And then another climax then went on, and I loved that. I loved that, all those false climaxes that just went on and on. And I was exhausted at the end of it, but I absolutely loved it.
Oh, in terms of false climaxes, Terminator has some fantastic false endings. That's a very good story. The original Terminator is lots of false endings.
I never noticed them. Don't think.
Well, you get that guy.
Not the way Lord of the Rings. I thought.
Oh yeah.
Not compared to Lord of the Rings.
I like the Terminator series very much. I don't know why. It's probably because I like sci-fi, but you're right. I mean, that they are from perspective of quality, storytelling quality. The first one was really good. The second one, that was that was the one where they sent
Oh, I didn't know
The
that.
good
the
guy.
Terminator back to
I
protect.
hated the kid.
It was with the
Hated the kid.
liquid
Really? I loved.
kid.
Edward Furlong. Hated him. Ugh.
Come on.
SP. I hated him.
SP, yes, he's a
He's
SP.
an SP boy. Hated him.
Yeah, but
And also so stupid as well. Like I could see that coming. Like INTP, when you know, liquid metal furnace. Right. Android's got to think, I am not going near that place where I could get killed. I'm just going to wait the buggers out until they go away from the furnace.
Ben, you
Can't
have
do
to
that.
turn off your TI when
What
you
if there was
are
an
going
exit
to
in
watch
the
a
back
Hollywood
door?
movie.
You're not,
Turn
you're not
off your
thinking if there's a
TI.
door at the back. They could have just run out the back, and that's what you're missing. The obvious.
Yeah.
Of course, the Terminator's got to fight and kill him. The Terminator doesn't care if he lives or dies, as long as it kills John Connor first. Then it's okay. So he's willing to risk his life.
Yeah, okay.
Sacrificing himself for the sake of Skynet. It's very brave.
Yeah.
The liquid Terminator has a lot of internal.
Yes, he does.
But I would think that the liquid Terminator would think, wait a minute, I could die there, and if I die, then I won't be able to complete my mission.
Yes,
Whereas
but if I don't try,
At one point, you have to take risks.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to take risks. Exactly.
It's not an ICP. SC Polar. It's not an SC Polar T1000. Looking at the negative consequences. If you were INTP, I don't know what it. First of all, it wouldn't be. That would be interesting if you made him an INTP. It
Yes.
would be very.
INTP Terminator sitting around and thinking.
Yes, it would take a long time with the plan. Right, I've got the plan.
At the end of the movie, he looks up to camera. Yeah. The end.
I mean, the hardest core one would be like ISTP, because they're like, ooh, there's some plans. There would be. You got to be careful of ISTPs. I think Putin might be an ISTP.
I've seen him typed as that in celebrity types.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. There's a guy that did a guy that used to do an impression of George Bush, and he died recently. He had George Bush having nicknames for everyone, and he said that George Bush called Putin Poot Poot. I just thought that was really funny, just a silly thing, just Poot Poot.
I don't know what. I really don't know why you Americans elected this guy.
Did he say you Americans?
Yeah.
Not you.
We're not Americans.
Not me.
But Ben, where are you from? I thought you were from America.
No, hence no accent. England.
Oh, okay. Just us high, lofty Europeans here, so we can talk trash about those colonists.
Although we Scots and Scottish and English, we don't consider ourselves part of Europe.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, that's another thing that might come very true in the future.
Yeah. Oh no!
Because of the referendum. When is it? Next year?
What, Scottish referendum again?
No,
No.
the EU one.
Oh, right.
That's next. I think that is next year or something, or shortly. Or is the year after? It's coming up.
Yeah, that Scottish one was quite
Close.
close. If they'd have.
I kind of knew it wouldn't pass, though. I didn't think it would pass.
Yeah.
My cousins were very disappointed.
Well, I mean, the cost of borrowing would have gone up if you have to have your own currency, and then they would have been inflated, and then all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like Greece, if Greece goes back on the drachma, then they'll just print up a load of drachma, and it'll be like 1 million. Like I remember, how old are you, Wojtek?
32.
Right. So how old are you, Jonathan?
29.
Right. Okay. So you can probably. Yeah. So you can probably remember when Italy had the lira, and what is it? When Spain, what is it? The peseta? What was it, like 1 million peseta to £1 or something? And the lira was ridiculous. It was like 10,000 lira or something to £1. And so when they got the euro, they got a really good deal. And the Germans, you remember this, lots of people in Germany weren't happy to give up the Deutschmark.
Yes, and there were a lot of anti-euro campaigns here, and from the right-wing parts of Germany, of course. There was like, I can remember that there was a TV advertisement against the euro, and they showed like a map of Europe, and then everything went red, like it was invaded, you know, like the invasion map on the History Channel. Yeah. And but everything really got more expensive. Like really, some the ratio, the exchange ratio for euros to D-mark was 1:2, and so 2 D-mark for 1 euro, I think. And everything they kept basically the same values in euros for a lot of things. Like things that did cost 2 D-mark now cost 2 euros. So prices went up, went double.
Yeah, well, that's what's going to happen when you print money, and anyhow, it's not I could talk about this for hours, the economics, the situation, because I listened to Peter Schiff a lot. We could talk about the economics of, and they had a referendum in Switzerland recently about whether they would have like a certain amount of gold backing to the Swiss currency. Because I'm big on the gold standard, because it stops governments from inflating money, because the money can be swapped for gold. Because if you say that, like what you're saying there about the value of the euro going down, if the euro was pegged to a certain amount of gold, say 1 euro equaled, say 100 euro equals 1 ounce of gold, then that means that you could take 100 euros and get 1 ounce of gold. Now, if the value had been inflated of the euro, so that now the price of gold was 200 euros, but you could still get 1 ounce of gold for 100 euros, then what people would do is they would take the money and go to the government and have the gold at a knockdown price.
And no one would give them the gold, because when the gold standard was still in place, you have to go through great lengths to actually get gold for your money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And if you have a proper gold standard where you can actually convert it, that will stop the government from printing money. And
yeah, but I mean, even in the times when the gold standard was there, they had like maybe 5% of the volume of money out there stored as gold.
It should have been more.
It was some ridiculous amount.
Yeah, and Peter Schiff thinks that China is, I don't want to say it like Donald Trump, China. He really demagogues the Chinese. It's terrible. Such a promoter, such a tactical person. But Peter Schiff says that the biggest producer of gold in the world, the biggest miner of gold, is China, but they don't export much. So it's like he thinks that they're preparing to have a gold-backed yuan in future, and that will be the world's reserve currency, will be the yuan backed up by gold. And everyone will want that.
I read up on that recently. They have discovered a new gold deposit in front of their coast. And they will probably be the first country that mines gold from deep sea, and it's like a ridiculously big deposit right in front of the coast.
Yeah, and it's like, and if you've got that and you want your currency to be the world's reserve currency, and
they have big plans.
Yes, big plans. And
Yes.
now, from an INTP point of view and from an INTJ point of view, you've got to say that China, they have some wicked long-range plans, and they are very, very careful.
Yes.
Very not reckless in their foreign policy. Very, very clever.
Yeah.
Very shrewd. INTPs approve of their cautiousness.
Yes. No, they are really thinking in hundreds of years. I mean, take Hong Kong for example. That was a great deal for them. Lend some part of the country to a modernized Western nation. Let them modernize some Chinese people, and then take it back after 100 years.
Yeah, and the politicians are not thinking about their own short-term gain. Let's take it back after we've died. It will be taken back.
Right. And I mean, they don't have to worry about being elected or not, because
They do have to worry about one thing. One thing they have righted about in China is because they had the peg to the dollar. The Chinese government has to create inflation in order to. People haven't realised they've gone off the peg. The peg has ended. China has no longer pegged their currency to the. What they did is it got covered up in the smoke screen of China devaluing their currency. But the main point is, yes, they devalued it, but they've also depegged from the dollar. They're no longer pegged to the dollar, so it will go up. But anyway, so they had to create a load of inflation in order to, because the United States creates so much inflation. The Chinese, and what they did was, all the Chinese exporters have got a lot of dollars from America, and so what they would do is the Chinese government would buy those dollars from the Chinese exporters, and then print up a bunch of new yuan to buy those dollars. So then that means you've got more dollars, more yuan coming into the market, and then the dollars they would hoover up and then they would like park them in treasuries by buying treasuries from the American government. And then, so that's how the dollar peg worked. But because of that, you had a lot of inflation in China, and you would have food riots. So even in China, people will riot if they're going hungry. And so they probably got to a point where even our people are rebelling, because if they can't eat, they can't afford to eat. They're going to be rioting, even in such a repressive country. So they don't want inflation, because people will riot.
Sure. I mean. Yeah, and I mean, it's a very large country, but they have a history of obedience to the authorities, and they are.
If you're starving, if you're actually starving, and you're in that situation, anyone's going to riot, because it's like.
Yeah, but
there's nothing else you can do.
Yeah. I mean, the Chinese government is very wary about riots. I mean, that's why they go after organizations like Falun Gong or whatever its name was.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's a potential nationwide organization from which a riot could spring, and. I mean, their secret agencies are just crazy efficient. I watched several years ago when there was the anniversary of the Tiananmen incident.
Yeah, 89.
Yeah, and they expected protesters. And there were like, I think, 2 or 3 guys that protested, and immediately, like I saw the pictures of it, the video camera. It was a guy who had some flyers under his mantle, and he took them out and wanted to give them to people like this, and immediately out of the crowd. 5 people are going on him and arrested him and put him down, and the 2 people were holding him down, and the other ones were collecting his flyers. Like they had to knew that he was probably a suspect, so they tailed him, and this was crazy. Like there's no chance for anyone who wants to make some kind of revolution there.
But in terms of economics, though, Peter Schiff would say they have more economic freedom in China than in the United States because they have so much income that they can afford to save 40% of their income for their retirement. That most Chinese, when they buy a car, they buy it for cash. You don't have to get car loans because you've got such a vibrant. The fact that when the iPhone 6 came out, and it wasn't available in China, people were paying so much for the iPhone 6. You have all these anecdotal stories of just how much disposable income they have because of the productivity. That's what enables. So it's productivity that causes wealth. It's not the actual amount of money. So, for instance, in Game of Thrones, the standard of living of the king in Game of Thrones is crap. There's no fucking. The standard of living's still rubbish.
And he lives off loans, and that's another thing I like of Game of Thrones. That's like, you know, a little bit of winking on the current situation of America. And
I got a book I can recommend for you. Neil Ferguson's The History of Money. And even though he's anti the gold standard, I mean, I was like really hardcore when I got this book because he was anti the gold standard. I almost felt like throwing the book away because I'm a little bit principled on that. But this is good, The History of Money, and he talks about how actual war bonds started in Italy with the war in states to actually fund the wars. And so, yeah, it is a bit in Game of Thrones, the idea of, we've got to borrow money to pay for these really expensive wars.
And everyone owns money to the bank of what's the city called?
Bravos? Is it the Bank of Bravos?
Yeah, the Bank of Bravos. Yeah, everyone is in debt. The Bank of Bravos in the East.
Yeah, and it's the guy that is Mark Gatiss, who's from the League of Gentlemen. So I'm just surprised when I see him every time. You've probably seen that. Have you seen that, Jonathan? The League of Gentlemen.
Yes, I think I forgot it. Because it was a crappy movie. I actually saw it in the cinema, I think.
No, you're thinking of something else. You're thinking of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. The League of Gentlemen.
Yeah. Okay. What's this one?
I know who Mark Gatiss is, and I've seen him in Sherlock and stuff, but I don't think I've seen the League of Gentlemen.
Yeah, I'll write his name, Wojtek, in the side. He is he's a massive Doctor Who fan.
He's wrote for Doctor Who as well, I think.
Yeah, and he did some audios. He did some audio stories in the late 90s. He like interviewed John Pertwee in like 96. He was like massive Doctor Who fan. Actually involved in fandom. We could invite some other fantastic people. So, Jonathan, what do you think of the quality of the people in the Model G group?
Oh, they're not bad. I mean, I'm there, aren't I?
So, the people who are. So, how many videos have you seen on my channel?
Well, you know all those times where you're recording and you say, "Oh, there's one person watching." It's usually me. I'm kind of usually I'm just very bored and I'm just scrolling. Oh, there's this. May as well watch that. So.
Oh, which any got any questions?
Not in this particular moment.
Oh no, I thought feedback.
Usually, I probably would have had questions in the moment, but now they're gone.
All right. It'd be good to have
comments at least.
Some good viewer feedback.
Yeah.
Any questions about Model G?
Not quite. Well, the thing is, I don't necessarily go too much by the models. I mean, they're interesting for the perspective, but I look at Model A, Model G, and the MBTI description. All that is just really kind of like different ways of looking at the very same
Yep,
thing.
good.
I try and bring it down to their core. I try to bring the functions down to their really core aspects. So
Right.
with something like FE, I would start as that's just at its core is always about judging things by how other people feel.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the descriptions and all of the books and all that, a lot of it is just the reason they contradict at times is because they're trying to fill out so many pages or so many descriptions, try to go into more detail. And sometimes it can seem like they're mixing things up. That's what I've noticed in some descriptions. It's not necessarily Model G, but it's like sometimes, like I think you've said before that SE in Socionics sounds a bit like TE at times, or it's more, or sometimes more ESTP than ESFP.
Yeah.
Like that.
It's more STP than SFP.
Yeah, it's a lot of it is. It starts off very simple, but the more you describe it, the more you start attributing things to that would only apply to certain types, or it would only apply to certain Enneagram types, even, and it can get quite muddled. So it's difficult to capture in descriptions.
It's almost as if the more precise you get, the less accurate you get.
The more descriptive you get, yeah, something like that. Precision is really limited. It should be.
Yeah,
I see. This is my major point of critique with Socionics. They overcomplicate things. Not that complicated is bad, because as an INTP I love complicated. But I have the feeling, the impression that Socionics tries very hard to come off as an exact science. For example, the Renin dichotomies. There's a note that Renin did prove them mathematically. I actually looked up because I thought bullshit, and I looked up his paper, and what he did was, I mean, he proved mathematically that you can combine this letters in this way. But this is a standard mathematical proof of just combining of combinatorics. So it's not mathematically proven. It's not even something very extensive or exceptional.
It might also be that although it's mathematically proven, that might not actually say anything about the way the actual dichotomies are defined.
No, I find the dichotomies themselves and their description very useful, but my point is that's what they try to label it with. It was mathematically proven. The same with the information theory and the background of it. It's I am a physicist, and I can really look up these things and read it up myself, and it is that, I mean, it comes off as being needy to look scientific to me, and.
But I think that a lot of the socionics community have mixed feelings about the Renin dichotomies. And the reason I call on the Renin dichotomies rather than the Reinin dichotomies is that the man himself on YouTube spells his name R-E-Y-N-I-N.
Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry, the man himself on Facebook.
I always mix this up, Renin and Reinin, when I Google it, because somewhere I heard it this way, and that got stuck in my head.
It's weird, because if you're actually Googling it, you probably do want to put R-E-I, but it's just the man himself. Maybe the man himself thought, I'm going to spell my name how I want people to say it.
Yeah, but I mean, I read that there's a lot of the Renin dichotomies are not supposed to be used solely to type people, but just as dichotomies, just as a coordinate system to characterize differences in personality, I find them to be quite useful and great. I don't know if they really correlate to the groups that they are associated with, like all EPs and IJs are this and that. Which range dichotomy is that? IGs and EPs are I guess it is democratic and aristocratic. Do you hear me?
What I can do is, what I'm going to do is in a moment is I'll. Wojtek, do you know how to share screen in Google Hangouts?
Yeah, there is some.
Right, what I can do is I'm gonna give you a link. Maybe you might be able to find this if you type in. If you type in sociograph Reinin, you might be able to find their test. I've done some. You might have seen them, Jonathan. You know where I've gone through with people that their Reinin dichotomies.
Yeah.
And I think it's like sociotype graph. And see, I've not got the browser open because if I open a browser, it will affect my sound. I think it's called the sociotype graph, and then it's like zilkin.com or something. What I'll do is I can briefly get the link for you. I'll just open up the browser, and then what we can do is we can go through those things. What I like about that is, and it fits me well, but there are other people that just do not fit it. They don't. But I like the fact that it says that pick 3 or 4 that you're absolutely sure of.
Yeah, but I mean, then it becomes like then it's not better than astrology, right? Because you will always find something that fits you, and then we are not doing science or typology, but yeah.
I'm trying
astrology.
to get the link because it is the way it's set up is nice. That's it. So what happened is, I opened up the window and it opened up another. So we can go through this. Just talk about what you're saying. I'm going to make that a bit smaller. Make that a bit bigger. Right. Does that get all of them in? Right. Excellent. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the screen. Right, so this is the actual test. This. Can you see that?
Yes, yeah, I looked it up actually. I have it here myself.
Excellent. So yeah, if you want to share your screen, I don't know if you want to share yours or show which ones you're selecting.
See.
Yeah, because if you share your screen, then you can click the ones that you. Yeah, so when you click on the green thing, you can then select the window that you want.
Yes, this one. And
bingo.
Okay, sociogram. Do you see it?
Yes.
Yes. Right, and now the audience will see it as well because I've clicked on that square. So it's like, yeah, if you pick the ones you're absolutely sure of, and then as you click one, I'll just tell in the audience that certain types are eliminated. So for instance, if someone's clicked on dynamic, all the static types are eliminated.
I will not go for the tier 1 dichotomies. Let's make it more interesting, and I will start with the second tier ones.
Right.
Negatives.
But if you, I see you've got 2 Facebook tabs open. If you close one of those Facebook tabs, it might go easier on your computer in terms of right. It'll be okay. Right, so you've gone with negative. All right, so you've got rid of all the... So you're super sure you're a negativist, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll tell the audience. Dumas is ISFJ, SIFE. Robespierre is FINE. Hamlet is FENI. Zukov is CETI. Balzac is NIT. Dreiser is FICE. Holmes is, I think, TSI. So
Can decide on tactical and strategic.
What about process and result?
Result. Can multitask.
Right, so what we have there, folks, is INTP or ISFP are the results, and then of course I think this sort of test might work well for INTJs and INTPs taking it, because
To decide if you're GOP in
yeah, maybe it
NDI.
might. It might be just the way the questions are worded might suit them better than other types. There you go, Robespierre.
Oh, okay, we are finished.
It worked.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm so saturated with personality type knowledge, so I could get any desired result I would want. So it's not, yeah, it's not very. I mean, I tried to be honest here, and from what I know, but subconsciously you never know.
Ah, yes. Well, try and be honest, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's good if you. It's just another point of view. It's some of them are more useful.
I mean, it's interesting that with just this few clicks, I mean, I chose 4 that I'm rather certain about, and I got Robespierre's LII as the result. Aristocratic versus democratic. That is the one.
Yeah, that's and I don't like the name of it. The name of it is dodgy because there's a bias in the name.
Misleading.
Yeah.
Because most people would see in the West, especially, would rather see themselves as democratic.
Especially INFPs. INFPs, yeah. I think they're actually an aristocratic type. They would be put off by that.
Yes, exactly. I was thinking that because the main difference between INFPs and INTPs in vain dichotomies is that, or the alpha and, help me out, beta quadra?
Delta? Are the deltas aristocratic?
Yeah. Is aristocratic versus democratic. INTPs are democratic, merry, and what was the third?
Yeah, that merry one. That is, I mean, the most merry of all the types is ESFP. and yet they get classified as a serious type because they're in the in the same quadra as the no smiling ISFP, NTJ, and INTJ.
Yeah.
We showed early on in the hangout that ESFP has a ton of FE. They use a lot of FE, it's just not valued in terms of behaviour. That's what Andre was saying.
Yeah, but that's what I meant with I see that the RAN dichotomies are good dichotomies for personal traits in general, but I'm not sure if the mapping to the types is right.
Right. Well, what we could at the moment you're still sharing screen.
Yeah. I turn.
Yeah, you are.
So yeah.
Right, now you get back. That's you. There we go. Because also, what happens when people share screen, it strains the computer a little bit. So as long as I've got my laptop cooler on, I'm okay. But yeah, it shut down earlier on. Let's see if I can post the link in the Model G group, because then we'll get good people. Right, got to get the. How do I get that in the right group? Right, there is. Right, okay. So I'm going to open up the Facebook group. Right, so how many have you seen the Dario videos on my channel, Jonathan?
I've seen some of it. Yes, I saw the last one. I never watched. I don't think I saw all of it. I saw an hour or two of it.
Ah.
I saw a bit when it was live. I saw a bit at the end as well after he'd left. But I can't actually remember much of it right now. But
I mean,
I do have his book though. I've got his book.
Oh, you bought his book? Oh, very good.
Yes. I've only read it once or twice, but it's interesting. I've seen.
I wonder how much money I've made for Dario buying Dust in this book.
No, I bought it without your recommendation. You didn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't because of you recommending me. I bought it months ago.
Ah, right.
It was because I saw. It was after I saw one of his Google videos.
Right.
Yeah.
Ben, what do you think about John Beebe? What is his name pronounced like? Beebe, yeah. And his archetype.
I've heard like two pronunciations of his name, either BB or Beeb. I'm going to look into it in future because I am interested in archetypes, and in terms of like when I was saying before about going with techniques, those archetypal patterns do turn up again and again in different cultures that never had any contact. The same patterns turn up, so I will look at that in future.
Yes.
The Beeb model.
I always thought that pantheons, god pantheons, are like the basic personality models. You know what I mean? Like they have their archetypes for each personality type, and there are oftentimes 12 main gods. It's the same in the German mythology, I think, and the Greek Romans, of course, took the same. Also the 12 zodiac signs.
Right. Oh yes. Do any of the zodiac signs correlate to the types?
You know, I was a little bit into astrology before I got into contact with MBTI, and modern astrology has a lot of Jungian influence. So there is correlation to be expected, and one of the first things I tried when I learned about MBTI is mapping zodiacs to MBTI types.
Yeah, because I tried to look for that. That would be great if you could tell us about that. Because I did a Google search for that, like mapping.
Yes,
astrology. I couldn't find anything. You have the floor. Tell us, please.
I actually spent a lot of time of this and different approaches that I mean, I learn by doing. So I make a project and learn something about the system. I tried to go over the route of Kirsey temperaments, actually, because temperaments can be mapped to the elements. And in the zodiac system, every zodiac is associated with an element. Leo, Aries, and Sagittarius is fire, and Pisces, Scorpio, and Cancer is water, and so on and so on. And over the association from the Greek origins of temperament theory and Kirsey's temperaments, I tried to do this systematically, but it never adds up. It's when you get the archetypical description of the zodiac signs, it never added up. So I tried just an intuitive approach and kind of tried to type the typical zodiac descriptions in MBTI.
That'd be a good idea.
And I did. I also am big on drawing diagrams and stuff like this. I stopped this project at one point, but I think that was my best fit. Maybe I still have it, where I compare zodiac signs, Kirsey types, and MBTI types in one diagram.
That's definite INTP stuff. Comparing all the different models.
Yes, yes. No, because I mean that's how you learn the most about all the systems, because you have to differentiate your understanding of each one. So.
Oh.
No. I don't think I have it anymore. That's a shame. No, but I came up with INFP for Pisces.
Pisces. INFP for Pisces. Yes, I'm a Pisces.
Yeah, Pisces. It's fishes in German, so yeah, Fische. And for Cancer, the closest thing I got to ISFP or ISFJ. I don't remember. It would be nice. Oh, maybe I have it on my laptop.
You see, this would be good to like.
If
you know somebody who's interested in astrology, is to say, oh, this type's like type.
I found some people who tried the same and exchanged typing, and we had similar results. There was a girl who was much into Indian astrology, and she tried to do the same. Where do I have this? Pictures. By the way, you got to know Andrew from the other Google Hangout, the behaviorist
very
guy.
Interesting. Would like to talk to him more.
What is your intuitive typing of him? Like,
I don't know.
Guess?
I don't know.
Temperament. Let's go for basics. His temperament. his scarcity temperament. Extroversion or introversion?
Well, I don't know whether it's his territory, but he was expressive in the hangout. So maybe if he is an introvert, and maybe an FE value in introvert, if he is an introvert, or he could be. I don't know. I'd have to experience him more. I wasn't concentrating on typing him.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because I'm just asking because that's a thing between us. Like, he considers himself to be a specific type. I think that he is another type, and I would rather see him as an EP, and most probably be either an ISFP or an ENFP, maybe. He considers himself to be an INTP, but I can't believe it. He might be a very unusual INTP who has a history that changed his behavior.
What's
but in
his
all
age?
this, he's 20, middle 20s, middle and 20s.
Right. You have to see him in other situations where it would be remarkable if he was like an INTP that had shifted towards ENFP. He did seem to have some artisan. Oh, it depends. I'm not usually like tonight. Jeff calls these drive-by typings, where you've not had enough information.
Yes, yeah, I understand that. I mean, the sample size you have of a person has to be large enough. You have to see him in different situations and in different circumstances. And but in this Google Hangouts, he usually is very extroverted, and he is very. He steers the discussion. Like he likes. Obviously, he likes attention, and he. In his posts, he often goes rather into F territory than T thinking territory. Like he is more focused on social implications of what he says rather than just spinning ideas.
Could it be an ESFJ?
He actually on a he told you that on an Phoenix test he actually got ESFJ. He is on the usual MBTI test. He is INT with GP ambiguous. That's what you usually get, and I mean, from functional point of view, I always, I mean, this always is unexplainable to me. I mean, how can someone be uncertain of his GP? Because this changes your functional stack completely.
Well, I don't. I mean, in terms of JP questions, my JP is very iffy. I don't like JP questions.
Okay.
That's why I'll use functions and intertype relations. Yeah. Ask him what he thinks of other types to sort of narrow down his type, because the JP
From
types.
intertype relations.
The JP types have opposites, conflictors, and duals. So, for instance, between so for instance, I'll ask Jonathan, what do you think of ESTPs?
They're alright. It's kind of funny listening to Donald Trump because, damn, I kind of like him, but even though I know exactly what he is, but it's still kind of like him. It's really strange though, because it's like, I know he's not telling the truth, but it's almost like he believes it, no matter what he says.
That's the thing.
No matter what he says, he seems to believe it.
Yeah, that's the thing is, I was trying to convince Blessing Alfred Tinash Sangha of that he couldn't believe that somebody can be direct and lie at the same time. Yes, someone can be direct. It's called a bold-faced lie. That's what Donald Trump tells. Bold-faced lies.
It's not even that. I don't think it's even that he's lies. Like the truth does not matter. Or it's like
is he lying or is he believing what he says?
It becomes the truth no matter what he says.
He changes his positions a lot, Donald Trump.
Well, I think there's a lot of politicians do that, so it's a lot hard to tell or care really at times.
Yeah. So with him it's like all the time. It's just like tactical. It's because ESTPs, they don't really have strong moral opinions. They will go with whatever fits, whatever is expedient. And in fact, Kersey in Personology called them expediters. I think he called them the expediter promoter. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, expediters and improvisers.
I think it's difficult for me to gauge exactly how dangerous he would be as a president or anything, because it's difficult to say. It's difficult to say exactly what he would actually do if he would keep any of his promises. Like, obviously he's probably not going to build a wall across Mexico. He might believe it. He might try it. God knows, that would be interesting. It'd be interesting just to see if he could try. But
it's just things like
the guy's an idiot. Come on.
Because he's so shallow.
Yeah, but this is the thing about ESTPs. People think they're idiots, but
I know they're not.
They're not.
Not everything. Not every ESTP is probably alike, right? And there are dumb ESTPs, and there are intelligent ones. And I don't think he's an intelligent one.
Well, I think what he has got is he's got a very intelligent daughter who might be guiding him. Like, have you ever seen interviews with what's she called, Ivanka Trump?
Ivana, isn't it? Is it? No. I haven't seen interviews with her. No.
I think it's Ivanka. His daughter's Ivanka. Yeah, she has some facial features that look like her father. Because remember, he was married to Ivana Trump. And then they had the daughter Ivanka.
Okay, I'm mixing my Trumps up then.
Yeah, because she's also a model.
Yeah.
Ivanka Trump. She was also a model, but she's pretty smart.
So what you're saying is
what he is good at.
INFJ would like an ESTP and think he's alright because
it's not that I think he's all. It's not that I think he's all right. I'd kind of know, but it's all like, you're a psychopath, but I like you, damn it.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like the woman. It's like it's like men who say, why is she attracted towards that bad boy? Because she's an INFJ. She's attracted towards the ESTP.
It's kind of a love.
Yeah, but I see your point, Ben. I mean, I am more revolted by him than you would be. I mean, with SE vulnerability, I am just bothered by his overall behavior, by his expressions.
Ben, I've always wondered, are you bothered by Jeff?
I'm bothered by Jeff.
Considering he's your conflictor.
Yeah, when he is with his son and he goes into full ESFP mode, then yes, I am. And I'm glad there's distance between us.
I wonder what he thinks of you. He's got
an INTP brother. He has an INTP brother.
So he's used to you.
Yes, but sort of, yes. I love his observations, and I think it's very insightful.
Yeah.
And also one of the things he's good at is he's very good at picking holes in my arguments.
Mm.
So he's very good at finding logical inconsistencies when because I do have a tendency to generalize
Yeah.
out of laziness.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post the link in the Model G group, and this could almost be an official Model G hangout.
I think with Donald Trump, part of me wants to almost like teach him, sit him down, and just say, "Look, Donald, I understand."
They always think. That's what they think. The INFJ woman thinks they can make the ESTP bad boy better. That they can turn him around.
Not even turn him around. Just explain to him, "Look, this is what you're doing wrong, man." It's like I know it would probably worse if he listened to me actually, because he might end up winning. If he took my advice.
He wouldn't have it. He would not have a chance of winning against Hillary because there's so much ammunition there for his misogyny. It'd just be, and he would not win in the general election.
Well, that's because he doesn't have me as an advisor. That's all.
And also he has a ceiling within the GOP where because everyone knows him, he's not going any higher than he's not going to go above 30% because everyone's already made their mind up on Donald Trump. It's just that the other ones are lower because. So another way of putting it is the non-Donald Trump vote is a lot bigger than the Donald Trump vote.
Mm-hmm.
So at this stage, it's like name recognition.
Yeah.
And whenever you go back to similar stages in past elections, like how many months out before the general election, it's always different people. Like last time it was like Herman Cain or Rick Santorum. It's always like completely different people.
Herman Cain was great.
Yeah, but he was literally a rocket scientist, Herman Cain, literally, because he works on the Aegis air defense system. He was a mathematician. It's just that he pulled out because of all these extramarital affairs. And all these
It's funny how the Republican Party can pull out rocket scientists and brain surgeons as their presidential candidates these days, and they're still not.
I know. But yeah, I mean, Herman Cain was a good. It's just that I think his wife put pressure because all these scandals kept coming out about sexual harassment, lawsuits being settled out of court, and but yeah, he worked on the Aegis missile defense system, and he was a CEO. Now, what Peter Schiff wanted to ask him about, but he forgot when he interviewed him, was he was on the Atlanta Fed. So, very wonky though, asking about. Yeah. Right. Okay. Here we go. So let's. I'll post this in here. We'll call this a.
You still haven't posted it.
I still haven't posted it. No, I'm terrible. Official Model G Hangout. Model G. Hangout. On. It's live.
On air.
Okay.
He's got it. Here we go. Here we go. In a hangout with Wojtek Muller. No, Wojtek Muller. Sorry.
Great name recognition.
Here we go. There we go. Let's see who says this.
But only in America. Only in America can a person like Donald Trump get so far.
Oh, wait a minute. What?
We'll see.
But how about, I've got someone more extreme than Donald Trump. How about Berlusconi in Italy?
Yeah.
Okay, Italy doesn't count.
What?
But they are very much alike, actually. Yeah, I didn't thought of this. Yeah, they are very similar.
There's an outside chance that in the future we'll have a prime minister called Boris Johnson, and he will be. That would be interesting if that happens. I don't think it will.
How much of an ENTP do you think Boris Johnson is?
I never thought of that actually. Maybe it would be kind of interesting.
He's so ENTP, Boris Johnson. Even his appearance, the hair, everything,
Yeah.
the way he...
Kind of.
Such an ENTP.
Yeah. He's also he liked Donald Trump just because of the hair. I think that's probably what's making me the distinct.
he's
difference.
He had the ice bucket
Ben, you have a
challenge.
thing with
Yeah.
ENTPs.
I don't like them. I don't distrust them.
Yeah.
I distrust them.
I noticed you have written something on like ENTPs don't have moral compass. I don't know if
Yeah,
it
that's
was
right.
a
It's pretty much true.
Yeah.
It's pretty much true because even though I really like Douglas Adams, like he, have you seen Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Either of you, or
Yeah.
heard it?
Yeah, I read it. I saw the movie.
Seen the film.
Right.
I saw the old BBC movies and the new one.
Right now, well,
And-
interestingly, yep. The radio series, the last 2 episodes, he went to his friend John Lloyd, and also John Lloyd. He was living in John Lloyd's house, so John Lloyd was supporting him. And he said, "Oh no, I've run out of ideas. Can you help me write the last 2 episodes of Hitchhikers?" And the understanding was that they would write the novel together. But when it's a hit series and it comes around to writing the novel, Douglas Adams says, "No, I'm going to write the novel on my own." And also, and what I've worked out recently is people talk about why did the novel stop after the first 4 episodes? And I think it's because then he couldn't get sued because he was novelising the bits that he had written on his own. That's what I think. And what I would have done is I would have written it with John Lloyd, the novel, but I would have said, you're not getting the 50%, you're getting like 10%. Because that's the amount you contributed, you will get 10%. So I would have still given him some money, but I would have still written it with him, but I would have given him a smaller percentage.
I think you're just a bit hard on ENTPs. I think there's
The
some
trolls!
depends.
Some ENTP must have hurt you
Oh,
at some point.
Oh,
Who's
Oh,
that?
we have
Crystal, just look.
yes, we have some glamour.
Well, join in, Crystal. Come on.
Oh, right, she's just
No,
lurking. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
But the Hitchhiker's Guide is like
Okay.
another very ENTP story, isn't it? It's
Yes.
The characters also do not have much depth and not
Yes.
some character arc in them.
Yes, and he said he
Stuff
didn't
just
care.
keeps happening.
Yeah, and then Doug
They are
Sanders
just-
in an interview said he didn't care. He's about the ideas.
Yeah.
He actually said that.
I actually don't mind it. I very much enjoyed the Hitchhiker's Guide.
Oh, I liked it as well.
Exactly for that reason. Yeah, because I mean that's what I like about dominance in general. They just make stuff up, and it's funny. It's it surprises you. It always surprises you what they will come up next, and I love this kind of stories. And
Well, I love the infinite improbability drive and the Babel fish. But when you sort
Yes.
of like if you look objectively at the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, you look at like, so for instance, I did a list. Oh dear, I did this massive. I did a combination. Here's a board of an analysis of hitchhikers.
Great.
Where I did like these are like my own ideas because like some of and then these are the only ideas in
INTPs
hitchhikers.
do disagree. Yes.
But these are the good ideas. Improbability drive.
Diagrams of the
Improbability drive. Babelfish 42. Very good sort of parody of logocentrism, like the search for eternal truth. But let's parody that by saying it's 42. The point of view gun in the film was gold. Like ENTPs need the point of view gun because they can't understand anybody else's point of view. Remember that with the point of view gun. You don't need that as an INFJ,
Yes.
Jonathan. You know what everyone's point of view is.
Yes.
I'm already am a woman. Great quote.
Which quote?
I'm already am a woman when he
yeah.
tries to shoot Trillian, right?
Yes, and good performance as
Doesn't
well. I
work
liked
on
her.
me.
I thought she was lovely, a lovely performance as
Yeah.
Trillium. And then you've got the somebody else's problem field. Again, that's a little bit silly. That's in the third book. Then you've got the bistro math. Again, the ideas are getting sillier. Like a ship that runs on the mathematics based on a bistro. Again,
Yes.
it's not as good as the improbability drive and the Babel fish. Total perspective vortex is quite good. And then the clairvoyant lifts. The clairvoyant lifts have defocused temporal perception, so they can see like half an hour into the future, so they know what floor to be on. What happened was, and the building was about to be attacked. The building was going to be attacked, and the lift knew they were going to be attacked, and he said to the person on board, I'm worried about the future. And then Zaphod said, worried about the future? What do you want, a pension scheme? And
yeah,
so,
but I mean, this whole outlandish ideas are great because they this is a typical NE. They like the bistro math effect drive. You take one idea. Math in bistros are different than anywhere else.
yeah.
You extend that and say this is a physical effect, and we can use this to drive to propel a spaceship. I mean, it's great.
So, did you read the book, Life, the Universe, and Everything?
I read all the books, I think, several times.
Oh wow! But well, I think that these ones.
I know where my towel is.
Right. I like these ones. So improv drive, Babel fish, 42, point of view gun, total perspective vortex, and clairvoyant list. But if you add up the amount of screen time for those, it's probably like 10 minutes. But if you have a great character, they're just on screen so much more. So for instance, Jonathan, what do you think of Only Fools and Horses?
I haven't seen that in ages.
Great characterization, though.
Yeah. Oh, that's the background of my childhood. That was like it wasn't necessarily me that was watching it, but it was on quite a lot. I remember that. So I remember my history teacher really loved it. He took a time out just to explain the genius of one of the jokes, but I can't remember enough of it myself.
And that's an example of, like, there you've got a sitcom, and you might have some people say, oh, everyone loved it, so it can't have been that good. No, everyone loved it, and it was great. Only Fools and Horses was very good characterization. Oh yeah, and I'll just explain to the people about what we were talking about before. Here was some, again, character dimensions. Del Boy, he is a con man.
Yeah.
He is a con man, and so he will sell people a load of crap, a load of stolen stuff, a load of nonsense. But he uses that money to look after his younger brother and his grandfather.
Yeah.
You have a very interesting point of characterization in him where he is ignorant in terms of academic knowledge. So, for instance, he'll misuse French phrases, and he'll say things like "be pacific" rather than "be specific." But in terms of his street smarts, he's very intelligent but ignorant. Compared to his brother, Rodney, who's very book smart, has a lot of book knowledge about art and things like that, but is a donut when it comes to street smarts. And then you have like situations where there was one story where he could have gone to Australia, but it would have meant leaving his brother behind, who has a drugs conviction, and he wasn't allowed to emigrate to Australia, and his grandfather went to stay. But he decided not to go to Australia and become a millionaire, but to stay behind and support his family. So again, you've got a character dimension between somebody who appears to be like this con man, but somebody who's got a heart as well. And so good character depth in Only Fools and Horses, and just the depth of somebody who is, because usually they write a comedy character as, oh, he's just totally stupid, but no, he's like ignorant, but also very smart, and that's good. That's good characterization to actually show that nuance between book smart and street smart.
Yeah, but I mean, aren't you generalizing your taste for what is a good story in general? I, for example, it's not that I don't care at all about character arcs and development, but I care a little bit about it. I find books like this ENTP books that just present ideas and ideas and ideas very entertaining. I like when the stories have structure, when there's things happening in a consistent and logical way.
Yes.
But with twists that surprises
yes, that's the
you.
substance. That is the substance of story, the twist. Aristotle wrote it as the reversal. So, for instance, in Oedipus, if anyone doesn't know what the story of Oedipus, and you really want to know, turn off. But big spoiler in Oedipus is the guy what is it? Is that expression? Don't shoot the messenger. He wants the messenger, and he finds out. And then he finds out, after he's got the information from the messenger, I killed my father and slept with my mother. That's why the whole city is like in this tragic plague. Oh no, I'll tear my eyes out. So, and then I
hate
get that revelation at the end.
Yeah, I hate this kind of stuff where the focus is on the personal problem of some character. I mean, yeah, whatever, you have problems, that's your problem. And why make it the center of a story?
Yeah, no, you do me too much. You do me too much, too depressing.
And
some good twists, talk about twists, some good...
Yeah.
In terms of story design, the best Star Wars movie, most people agree that this, Empire Strikes Back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but, and again, you had a decision by Luke. Yoda and Obi-Wan are telling him, don't go back, you're not ready to face Vader. Luke decides, no, I want to rescue my friends. And earlier in the film, Han Solo rescued Luke. Remember when he cut him up, he put him inside that tom-tom type thing?
Yeah.
He puts him inside. And so, even though he's not ready, and then so in order to save his friends, Leia and Han Solo, he goes to fight Vader, not ready at all. Vader is like, the audience is not expecting, I mean, they usually expect the hero to win. They don't expect, like, the villain to, like, cut his hand off, completely beat Luke.
Yeah, he beats him up, plays around with him.
Yeah. Then tells him that he is his father, and then offers him a job ruling the universe with him. And then there's this sort of implication that when Luke jumps off, is Luke trying to kill himself? So you have all of these turning points. And I actually remember when they said on the documentary that George Lucas asked the child psychologist, what will the effects of this be on children when they find out that Darth Vader is Luke's dad? And he said they wouldn't believe it. And that's how I remembered it as a child. When I found out, I remember being told, oh, Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's dad. I didn't believe it. And so that actually backs up the theory they used.
I don't know.
I was actually like, I watched it as a kid also, and I mean, I like Star Wars because there were lightsabers in it, and at the scene I was just like, okay.
I always wondered what I would think if I knew that, because when I saw that scene, I think I already knew he was his father. I don't know where I heard it from. I remember the very first time I saw Empire Strikes Back, it was on television, but I could only watch the first 10 minutes or so. So the first Star Wars film I saw straight through was Return of the Jedi.
That is a good turning point as well. Like right at the end, where Darth Vader is seeing Luke, his son, dying because of and the Emperor is about to kill him.
Yeah.
And then Darth Vader decides, in the turning point, again, character in action, he kills the Emperor to save his son.
Yes.
And that is a very moving moment because it's character in action. It's the choice that reveals someone's true nature.
Yeah.
Well,
And actually, in the act of killing the Emperor, he actually kills himself as well.
hmm.
Yeah, no, that was a great story arc. Because you weren't also quite expecting it, because Luke tried to persuade him. He did allow himself to be captured, and he tried to reason with his father, and it was kind of established that Darth Vader would never turn the light side again. And
you get the stupid bit though. I don't understand, and also Lawrence Kasdan did the dialogue. You had the stupid bit there. The Emperor is telling Luke exactly how he is manipulating him. Why is he telling him that? The more you do this, the more you become my prisoner. Why is he telling him?
It's because he's trying to turn him to the dark side. He's trying to get him angry. That's the point.
Yes.
You're telling him though.
Of course, because it pisses Luke off. That's the point.
Yes, but he is an evil mastermind who plays with his puppets, and it is established in the scene that he feels so cocky about his plans. You always hear Palpatine saying, "Everything goes exactly as I planned."
Everything that has transpired is going according to my design.
Right, and he is so cocky about his own plans that he is confident enough to tell him at this very moment. And I think that was part of what makes the scene great.
Yeah.
Because it seems like everything is lost at this moment. And the parallel storytelling of the rebels that are losing the battle because it was a trap.
Yes.
And it happens all simultaneously, and then there's this turning point.
Yes.
Also, the thing is, when Palpatine's saying that, he is right. He's not gloating when he shouldn't be gloating. He's gloating after he's already won. That's an important distinction to make as well. It's not really him being stupid, because nothing he tells Luke makes a difference. The rebels win, but not because of anything he says. Even if he said absolutely nothing, even if he kept all his blood to himself, the rebels would still have blown up the Death Star. The stupid thing was you yourself as bait, but.
Yeah, but just if he really is trying to turn him to the dark side,
rub his face in it.
Yeah.
The point is I think George Lucas is a 9-wing 1 in the Enneagram, and I'm a 1-wing 9, and I can very relate to this idea that anger is corruptive and evil and hate is corruptive and all that. So the idea that just by making him evil, just by pissing him off enough to kill his own father and stuff and break him that way. It's also the fact that Palpatine is utterly convinced that if Luke turns on him, he can take him, he can torture him to death, whatever. And he can kill Vader too, so that's the other thing. It's exactly what he did with Vader, because if you watch the prequels, it's in Empire as well, because when Vader offers Luke to help him rule the galaxy, he tells him you can destroy the Emperor.
Yes.
It's like Vader hates the Emperor. Vader hates the Emperor for ruining his life, but he still works with him because he's afraid of him. And because of the Sith rule, it's part of his job to hate him. So it's kind of like Palpatine's convincing you to join him by saying, I'm going to make you hate me, and that will be the only way you get strong enough to beat me. So that's his.
Why is Vader still hanging around with Palpatine after the prequel? I mean, before we had the prequels, there might be reasons, but why after everything, he only turned to the dark side because he wanted to save his wife. Because the dark side would give him the ability to turn around, bring someone back from the dead. That's the only reason.
Jonathan's right, because it was established when in episode 2. No, not episode 2. Yes, episode 2. Yes.
Our nerdy talk just scared away the only women.
Yes.
No, she's been pulled away. It's just cut off now.
Yeah, I know.
Is she a YouTuber? I swear I saw her fucking name on someone's related channels on YouTube earlier.
Yeah, mine.
Oh. Is it on yours? Okay, it might be yours.
At the moment, we're being recorded. So.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, because I know you're on YouTube.
Yep.
You've got a YouTube thing, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So is it like one that you'll upload, or you'll
Yes.
Yeah.
We have one viewer right now.
Yeah, one viewer. See, I've been on recorded ones like Lisa Emerald. Like I've been on recorded ones. They're still up. She's a mental health vlogger, but that's cool. I'm Lewis Lewis Feeney from the. You know what? Maybe I shouldn't say it from because I'm being recorded. But yeah, from the INTP group. So yeah, but it's really late here.
Oh, right.
We've got like mainly British people here around 1 a.m. talking about Star Wars, and I'll just jump in. It's like it's kind of funny, very INTP, but there you go.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm fucking sleepy though, you know, so I probably won't be doing much talking, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Where were we? Star Wars.
If we keep the F words to a minimum every now and then, that'll be okay for the rating.
Right.
I excuse
what's
the
the theory?
one.
Why did Vader stay around?
It's because after he's lost everything, the only thing he's got left is trying to make this right. And he thinks the only way to make this right is by bringing order to the galaxy and putting an end to all the war. But the only way he can do that is become powerful enough to overthrow the Emperor. And the only way he can become powerful enough to overthrow the Emperor in his mind is to turn to the dark side and learn all his secrets.
Yeah, so part of it was, it's established in the first film, in Phantom Menace, that when they said that the boy was too old because he still had an attachment towards his mother.
Yeah.
And the other ones, the other Jedis are so young, they learn not to have an attachment to people. And because he had this attachment to his mother, and then his mother is killed by the Sand People in episode 2, he then goes old school on the Sand People, and he's really enraged because they killed his mother. And that's like the first step. And then in this horribly acted scene, this awful acting where he talks about hating the Sand People and killing them. Horrible acting.
It's not the actor's fault though, because Harry Christensen and Natalie Portman, they actually asked George Lucas, "Hey, can we do this? Can we act this way? Or can we do this thing?" That and George Lucas says, "No, act the way I'm telling you to."
Yeah, and I blame him as well, because you get people who are good in other films, when they go in a George Lucas film, they're crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a bad director of people. Is Lucas an INTJ? Because he's got a problem.
I kind of wondered that. Yeah.
No.
I think he's a thinking. It's hard to tell.
I would have him as a feeler type. INFP maybe.
It's hard.
Ooh, INFPs, they love the characterization to INFPs.
Yeah.
They're like #1 best type for novelists.
Well, they're not bad. They're actually very good characters. They're very memorable characters, so it's not necessarily that.
Well, I mean, in terms of
the dialogue is strange.
In terms of like inner conflict and thoughts, in inner life, INFPs are probably the best at that, because that's like what they do all the while. Is thinking about their own feelings, and so that's going to be writing characters will be a natural extension of that.
Right, and it's all about feelings. The force, the dark side versus the light side is all about feelings. Whether you give into anger
Oh,
or whether you give into
Serenity.
I've forgotten something.
He could
I
even
forgot.
be an INTP, who knows?
Yeah, I remembered something about him. He was a joyrider as a young kid. He was very much had this huge yearning for speed, and that's one of the reasons why he did the pod, not the
Pod race.
podcast, the
Pod
pod
race.
race in
sorry.
Phantom Menace. And so maybe some sort of SE type, maybe some kind of like ISFP or
Because of
ISTP.
his, that might be also because of his focus on visual effects.
Yes, as well. Yes, yeah. So I would think ISFP or IS. I would lean towards ISTP, just because of the lack of emphasis on
It's hard to say.
answers.
One last thing about Vader is I want to say that, because I've been thinking of this recently, so this is convenient. It's kind of like, if you look at the way Palpatine, I think Palpatine in the prequels is the best written character in the prequels, is best acted.
Yep.
And it's the way he deals with Anakin is very Shakespearean villain way, but it's also kind of like he's grooming him. He's grooming him the way a criminal is grooming a child to become part of a gang, or even like a pedophile or something. It's like it's not just that killing the sand people is just the turning point. It's also, even before that, Palpatine has been putting ideas in Anakin's head, telling him,
say that.
you're telling him the Jedi are underestimating you. You can always listen to me, and you're special, Anakin. Know that.
Yeah, and there's little conversations that it's established that he is having these private meetings with.
Yeah.
In that second film, Attack of the Clones, he's having private meetings with Palpatine, and there's a little discussion with Padme, where they're talking about democracy.
Yeah.
And he's sort of like, he actually tells him where he doesn't actually really believe in it, and that he thinks it's corrupt.
You think that could be Palpatine's ideas? Yeah.
Yeah, and also, at that stage, that the system was a very corrupt form of democracy, and then when Padme asks him, "Do you really believe that?" and he sort of like laughs it off, but you can so he's a bit of an authoritarian.
That's the other thing why he sticks in with Palpatine, because he's actually he's, at the end of the day, Palpatine's probably the only guy he really knows who's still alive, who he hasn't killed or chased off. Even though he hates him, he's known him all his life. Is that powerful father figure thing?
Yeah.
And
Okay, I can see
also
that.
the power of how devastating that betrayal would have been if it was acted properly.
Yeah,
I would have liked some soliloquies as well. I would have loved soliloquy from Darth Vader.
Yeah, and from Palpatine. Palpatine's brilliant. Oh, he's Shakespearean and all that.
Oh yeah.
Palpatine's Iago.
I must say, when I saw the prequels, I found the turning of Vader, Anakin, to the dark side very unconvincing. Like I saw it from a logical point of view. What they tried to did there with him killing the sand people, then he cried, but the way the actor was performing was terrible, and I didn't buy it because from going to be kind of conflicted about the Republic to take a lightsaber and kill all those Jedi kids.
That was unnecessary.
There.
Well, even then, though, he's done that before. You know, with the sand people, he has been willing to slaughter men, women, and children.
Yeah, you have a little child come out with a British accent. Lord, what was it? Lord Skywalker, what do we do?
Master Anakin, will you save us?
No, get away, you bad actor.
Has anyone seen Robot Chicken?
Yes.
Oh, they did some Star Warsy type things.
Yeah, did a lot of them. Yeah, one of them was Anakin's going in to do it, and he has to kill the kids, and he says, Oh God, he goes to his happy place and he pretends they're all flowers and he's going
And
through
the
the meadows,
flowers,
cutting
yeah,
down
I
the flowers and
remember
saying like la 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 la.
that was great, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, that should have been in the movie.
I actually think Anakin's story. I think actually Anakin's story and corruption does make sense. I don't think it's necessarily explained or acted as well as it could have been. But
Yeah, it is good.
I think it
It-
does. I think it does make sense if you know what's going on.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you and with the like say with the one where he had least involvement, like Empire Strikes Back, if
Yeah.
you could combine him with a proper writer,
I know.
very good at dialogue. I mean, say
Yeah.
you could combine Lucas with George R. Martin
Mm.
with the characterization, and you'd have
Well, if it
still
was
a great story.
if it was George R. R. Martin, everyone would be dead. Or
The
being
dialogues were terrible. The
very-
dialogues in the sequels were terrible.
Yeah.
They're memorable.
They're
Well,
terrible, awful. The scene between the romantic scene between Padme
Yes.
and Anakin. This was painful to watch.
Part of that though is
Or-
the bad
or
acting.
this- Yeah,
direction.
that was part of it, but also the dialogue was shitty.
Yeah.
Also in the big arena where they have this moment where
Yeah.
she confesses her love, I think, to him. They are just an IDP thing. Yes, they are fighting, and then they are like, "Oh no, do you love me? Yes, I love you."
Yeah,
And
that was
they take time for this, and they shouldn't. But the dialogue itself was bad at this point. They could have done this better. Like with acting, they could do it without dialogue. They could just have a moment where they look at each other, and
Oh,
he
yes,
does
I
something
agree.
for her, or she does something for him, where it is established. They
Yeah, and a
now
good- and a
have
good- yeah.
a different.
That's
Yeah.
right. I mean, and a good director faced with a script like that would say, "Hey, we can do this with a word, with a glance. We don't need it to say I love you. We can do it in a glance."
Yes, but do you know the backstory of how the script was written?
Go on
for the
then, tell us.
sequels? Lucas was putting it off at the very last moment, and he wrote it like in a few weeks. I don't know the exact time frame, but it was a very short time frame. They already started to produce some scenes like the battles and stuff, and there still wasn't a script around. And I suspect that George Lucas did this on purpose, out of egomaniac motives. Because in the first Star Wars movies, his original script, I read the first original script.
Not very good.
because I have nothing else to do with my life.
Very long.
It was very different from what it turned out to be, and he was complaining about people messing with his script and changing things as things moved along. But that is good in a movie because you have input from other people and can apply change things to the situation, to the performance of the actors themselves. And of course, the actors themselves have more insight into the situations because they think about it more from the perspective of their characters, and they say, "Hey, this doesn't make sense. We should rather do this and that." And I think he was delaying it and writing it in a few weeks before the filming started, because he wanted it to be his product, because he wanted it to be his thing alone, his piece of art.
But at that point, though, when he was doing the prequels, he was funding them all himself. So we wouldn't have had any interference.
And sometimes interference isn't always good, though. There are films that actually a lot of really bad films have a whole bunch of writers, or even good films that just have kind of awkward plots. Like I wasn't a very big fan of the plots of the last two James Bond films, for instance, because they're kind of there's a lot of logical leaps there and things that don't make sense. Like there's stuff to like in them, and there's stuff just weird. They had a ton of writers.
Well, but James Bond films are not the art pieces of script writing. They are very basic stories.
These were needlessly convoluted at times, though. Even for
what they got right though with the new guy playing him, the blonde guy playing James Bond, is they got Daniel the tone Craig. Right. Daniel Craig, they got the tone much better, much more realistic.
I love the first movie with Dan Craig because they broke all James Bond cliches in that one.
Oh yeah, like when he said,
"Yeah,
shaken not stirred. Do I look like a give a damn?"
Yeah, but I look like a person who gives a damn. And the change from James Bond is a classy guy. He's the gentleman. He is the British has award for this.
Suave.
No. Like a worldly gentleman.
Urbane.
Huh?
Is it Urbane?
No. Never mind. So he was he was this kind of person, and they changed him into a fuck. Into
ESTP.
Sorry, the fuck. Into an ESTP.
Jonathan's fan. Did you like him, Jonathan? Was he ESTP?
I've heard him say he's ISTP actually.
Ah, right. Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I've seen it titled as Type 8 ISTP, so maybe that's it. Other types of James Bond are ESTP, I think. But I don't know about that one.
Talking about Bond, did you watch Psychopath Night? It was on a few years ago, where they looked at the psychopathic traits, like the positive psychopathic traits, like being good under pressure and emotional detachment, all the sort of things that would make someone a really good spy or bomb disposal expert. And when you're like watching this, it's like this is like an extreme ESTP, because he's like talking about the psychopathic scale, and they even sent him a message. He never replied about, hey, you're doing ESTPs. Look at this profile, SLE. It's like, and he showed these two, and they had like a psychopathic test to like see how somebody scored. The two that scored lowest. Two women that looked like such INFPs. They had the INFP glasses all in there. Asked them, do you want to go on that bungee jump? No way! And then it's like the total opposite. It was like they were like, it's like the anti-sociopaths, the anti-psychopaths, like the INFPs, and then the sociopathic ones were like the ESTPs. And even it was amazing, very good. So it shows the different systems.
I talked about this in the other out that you went there at this point, I think, that psychology and the disorder plot, I think it is written from the perspective of NFs or SFs. It what they would consider as an unhealthy trait looks in some cases more like a normal description of a very heavy NT or ST. And I think that this what is the name of the standard catalog? IDC-10 something.
DSM. Yeah, ICD-10 and DSM-5. They're the two main ones.
Right. Yeah. That they have a strange perspective on what's normal and what's not normal. I mean, in the extreme cases, of course, sociopaths and psychopaths, when they display unhealthy behavior and so on. But there's always a list of symptoms that in which you have to scale high to be considered to have one of these disorders. And I think that most NTs, maybe more STs, would naturally scale high on those.
Well, I kind of see what you mean, but I don't know if it's necessarily written by NFs or anything. I think it's kind of awkward. Those things are actually very simplified because they're meant for general use in psychology. They're like if you're your average psychologist and you deal with a patient, you're not sure what they are. Here's a list of basic things. There's a lot of stuff that will go into a lot more detail about what these personality types and disorders are actually like. And I should say the biggest.
Do you have some background in psychology?
Well, no, I've read a lot though. I've read a lot of stuff before I got into typology, and I read a lot of personality disorders specifically. A lot of it's very behaviour based because they're trying to be taken seriously as a science. Just kind of that's why I like typology better, because that's, because we're getting into this, we're taking some chances and trusting that people know that there is stuff going on the subconscious level and stuff.
So, what do you think happens to Enneagram 4 Wing 5s from a psychological point of view? In terms of disorders, what can happen to them?
Things like borderline personality at times, and there's like, it's actually on the Enneagram Institute website. Give me a second. Because
you can let me know if it sort of matches up with like proper psychology, the actual.
A lot of it. Have you ever heard of a guy called Theodore Millen?
No.
He did work on he did research and stuff on psychopaths and personality disorders, and he and a bunch of other people had this. Their theory was that personality disorders were just extreme unhealthy manifestations of personality styles, which are more normal range. And the Enneagram's the same basic principle as that. In fact, I think I've actually looked up some of their styles and they're actually linked to the Enneagram at times. But so things like a paranoid personality disorder would be an unhealthy version of what they call the vigilant personality, and the narcissist would be a confident and so on.
That's a bit like Kretschmer.
Don't know.
Ben, by the way, what type do you think is the most susceptible to the English word for conspiracy theory? Conspiracy theories.
Oh dear, conspiracy theories.
Well, first of all, I've got answers to that.
Go on then, Jonathan. I'll leave it to Jonathan.
First of all, as far as 4 goes, it says at the very unhealthy level 9, the generally correspond to avoidant, depressive, and narcissistic personality disorders.
Right. What does that look like? What is an avoidant?
Avoidant, I would say a lot of introverts, very introverted people, and introverted intuitives especially, and people like me would probably correspond to avoidant. Avoidance basically you don't want to interact with people.
There's a correlation between avoidance, personality disorder, and introversion.
Yes,
I can link up a paper that I saw on that where they link MBTI dimensions to disorders. But
I don't like introversion being classified as a disorder.
Yeah, that's the
No.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's more
That's
extreme.
not what they do. They just measure correlations between.
It's more extreme. I would say some ENFPs and ENTPs might even get that because they can be quite introverted as well. It's more, like I said, it's more behaviour based.
Yes, because ENTPs with their FI problem can have problems.
No, even ENFPs as well. If some of them can go for days without talking to people, it's
It's a
not
little
like
bit
that.
too crazy. If the ENFP is a little bit too crazy for people, then people won't want to go near them.
Well,
They're a little bit too any.
Well, one definition of personality disorder that I've seen is that it's when your personality becomes the organising principle of your life. So when you start to want reality to conform to your personality. So in the case of an avoidant, that would be things like you avoid taking jobs that require you to interact with people, and you take ones that don't, even if the ones that do pay better or are more suited for you and stuff. So that'd be one version of an avoidant. There's subtypes as well. There's a lot of detail they go into. But there's avoidant, depressive, and narcissistic. I would add borderline.
What does borderline look like?
Borderline is a very complicated one. It can. The stereotype would be something like fatal attraction. It's emotionally unstable and kind of erratic. In extreme cases, it can involve delusions and hallucinations, and black and white thinking, and also thinking things like you're not sure if this person loves you or not. Sometimes things like that. It's a very complex and varied disorder.
They are paranoid about relationships. They have a bonding disorder, right? Like they constantly are questioning if the bonds they are having with the people which are intimately close to them will leave them, and they are constantly questioning.
Things like threatening to hurt yourself or actually hurting yourself to get attention, so the person will need you and stuff. I suppose type 2
But they have also high narcissistic traits, and they are very manipulative. Borderlines are the most manipulative people.
Well, the thing is, I think every personality disorder is kind of narcissistic in a way, but always egoistic because you're still putting your own needs ahead of it. So you could have like a dependent personality disorder, which is very much about you have low self-esteem, you want others to love you, and you can act very generous and very charitable towards this person or people because you want them to like you and you want them to look after you. But that's still very narcissistic in a way because you're not doing it. You're still putting your neurotic needs ahead of them. You don't want them to leave you.
Yeah, it's a bit.
In a way, they're all like that.
Is that a bit like Enneagram 2 disintegration?
Yes, it's especially. I would say specifically a self-pres 2, especially would be an unhealthy self-pres 2 would be like dependent personality. I like matching up Enneagram with disorders because it's quite interesting when you do that, and it adds a new dimension to personality styles and disorders as well.
They mentioned a bit of that in this book. Have you got that book, Personality Types?
I have it in my Kindle, yes.
Yeah, and they mentioned it at the back. There's a little bit where they correlate it with DSM.
It's their website.
I've not read that yet. I don't know. You might have read that bit. So
it's their website I'm looking at right now.
They've designed it so it seems to be pretty biased towards the mobile version now. Oh, did you read their article on hormones?
No.
Yeah, they've got an article up. Who sent it to me? It might have been Crystal, where because I've been looking at the hormones with the Kersey temperaments, and they've looked at hormones as well, the Enneagram people, but they just looked at serotonin, norepinephrine, and dopamine, and yes, the Enneagram 8s have high dopamine, and the Enneagram I think it's 9s have high serotonin. The Enneagram 6s and the Enneagram 4s. Yeah, the Enneagram 4 has low serotonin because they're not calm, and so it does. I'm just going to click on Wojtek's square.
Yes.
Here we go.
Do you see that? That's the study I was talking about.
Yep.
So we have here the MBTI dimensions and the correlations to personality disorders. The study was done with a sample size of 332 people who are pathological. So in some group that displays a lot of disorders, and so you basically see for avoidant high correlation with a p-value of below 0.1 and an error correlation value of 54. That's quite high. To positively correlated to introversion, for example. Then you have correlations to antisocial T's negatively, so it goes in the T direction. So T's have connection to antisocial. Obsessive compulsive has correlations in a lot of the dichotomies, but the natural suspect would be G's, but it seems like it is evenly distributed about among all the dimensions. There is a whole type correlation to disorders. I don't know if this was from this study. For INTPs. INTPs have a positive correlation with schizotypal. And they are the only type with an actual significant correlation with a disorder.
How does it go with the Kretschmer's view that NT is that the intuiting types tended towards schizophrenia?
I think this is a correlation stemming from Big Five. N types, N correlates to neuroticism.
Right.
And so from there you go further to. Okay, I think I'll call it a night for today. It's 2 past midnight here. It's been fun.
I thought it was 2 hours 21. Is it 2:21 in the morning?
Yes, 2:22, whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
We live in
That is how tired it is, but the time cannot be told, right? That's how tired you are.
Right.
Yeah, you're proving your tiredness. So, you are. So,
have fun, and it was very interesting. Bye-bye.
I'll tell you about my paranoid stuff some other time.
Oh, that'd be great.
Conspiracy theories. You were asking about conspiracy theories, and we'll talk about that some other time.
Oh, you can watch
okay. Yeah. Because of I asked this question about conspiracy theories because I see quite a lot of them in INTP. No, not many, but it's like a thing, and that is strange for me because normally you would assume that INTPs are more critical of information they get. Like, for example, it takes climate change deniers. Like, there is a ridiculous amount of scientific, not proof, but solid indications that human-caused global warming is real. But they pick like, yeah.
But NASA
Don't tell me you are.
has come out with a study saying that the ice is actually thickening at the Antarctic.
Yeah, but that's exactly my point. People pick out like singled out studies that put these things in question, and all the studies turn out to be either half true or inconsistent. I spent a lot of time researching this. I followed all so-called proof from the deniers, and none of it really sticks. And there is a lot of, I mean, in this case, it is obvious where it's coming from. It's the oil industry. They finance everything that goes against climate change. And I won't start the topic because it will expand endlessly. Okay, so have a good night and see you around.
Okay, I can actually. I have actually had a routine written down from Dennis Miller talking about this subject, where when they found out that NASA released a study saying that the ice is thinning at the Arctic but thickening at the Antarctic, and just gotta, because I wrote it up for somebody, and what have we got here? Yes, and. Where is it going to be? It is. Aha, it is. Right. Dennis Miller. Here we go. He says he's come up with a new thing called prognosticism, and this is just like to show Dennis Miller's knowledge. So I'll read this out. In fact, what I can do is show it, I think. Here we go. Yeah, I'll show that. Right, I'll share the screen and then you can see it. There you go. I might even be able to read. What's we've got here? We've got. It doesn't matter if it's getting thicker to the left. They're just going to tell you they think yardsticks are the devil's scepter. They're going to insist it's getting thinner. It doesn't matter. I've noticed that what's happening in this world, Billy, there used to be a schism between rationalists, people who would sit and ponder and think and reflect and come up with an opinion, and you'd have a schism between people who saw it in a different way. Now you have a schism between empiricists, people who take actual measurements and still disagree on it. I don't care if the science proves it's getting thicker. They're going to say it's getting thinner. So that's why I practice the new religion, prognosticism. I'm prognostic. If somebody comes up to me and they're for global warming and they say it's getting thinner, I lock on my pod face and say, yes, it is dangerously thin. Bill O'Reilly Jr. By the way, this report is from NASA, that some parts of Antarctica are losing ice, but some parts are gaining ice. There it is.
Okay.
But I just like the learning of Dennis Miller, the prognosticism.
Yeah.
I just thought that was a. Jeff thinks that he's an ENTJ. Dennis Miller.
Okay, I don't know who that is.
Oh, American comedian. Used to be on Saturday Night Live.
Might know.
Talking to comedians, a good couple of lines from one on Obama is he sends more mixed messages than a dyslexic texter.
Mm-hmm.
And then another one on Donald Trump from Greg Gutfeld, same one as before. He said he changes positions more often than an indecisive porn star.
All right. Okay.
Right. So, unless other people are going to turn up.
It's because it's so late. All the cool people are either in bed or the other ones are in America. So
Yeah, it depends. Are you quite tired? We could invite other people or we could pull out.
I think I need to get up at the time tomorrow. So it's probably
Okay. Okay, so we'll end on that joke, folks. Those two jokes, those good jokes. Tell other people. All right, bye bye. No, by me. By Gutfeld. Bye bye.